Free Speech TV is supported by your contributions, and I strongly encourage you during the pledge drives, or even not during the pledge drives, to call Free Speech TV at 877-378-8669 and make a contribution, support Free Speech TV. But that said, our program, the Thom Hartmann Program, what you're watching right now, is sustained by commercial advertising, and we're on commercial stations around the country. We run ads, they pay us for that. And one of the ways that you can support our program is by going to thomhartmann.com, our website, and clicking on the advertisements on that page for our sponsors and buying their products, supporting their products, or letting them know that you care about their products and that you support our show. That's thomhartmann.com, and click on the advertising there to support our program. We really appreciate it. We really appreciate your supporting Free Speech TV by your ongoing, calling and supporting the fundraising drives, and we also would really appreciate if you go to thomhartmann.com. We've had a lot of fun being on Free Speech TV all these years. It's been, I think at least 9 or 10 years that we've been doing this program on Free Speech TV. I've been doing the show for 15 years. We started it in our living room or in my office in our home in Montpelier, Vermont, back in March of 2003. But every now and then you get a reality check on how important Free Speech TV really is and how effective Free Speech TV is. Congressman Mark Pocan on this program, he was on today. He's on, every week doing what Bernie used to do. I mean, for 11 years, Bernie was here every single Friday for the first hour. Congressman Pocan every single Wednesday for the first hour. And And Congressman Pocan, of course, is the vice chair of the, or the co-chair, excuse me, him and Raul Grijalva are the chairman of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, which is a pretty big deal. And he actually, on our program, talked about how, as a result of a call that he got from one of you, he wrote and introduced legislation to protect our voting. And Congressman Ro Khanna last week was on. He comes on every other week, more or less, and takes calls. And he said that wherever he goes in the country now, people are saying, hey, I saw you on Thom Hartmann's program, or I heard you on Thom Hartmann's program, or both. So, I mean, this is not to pat myself on the back. It's to say this television network has a reach. This television network is getting a message out. This television network is having an effect. If you want to affect the political future of this country, make a contribution now to Free Speech TV. 877-378-8669 is the telephone number. It is necessary to keep this network going. We have not been hitting our goals. We need your help. 877-378-8669. Any amount is useful. We get a lot of small contributions, and they're really appreciated. And we get the occasional large one, and that's really appreciated. But whatever you can give, please help us keep this thing going. We want more of these success stories from members of Congress who have come on this program. With a $30 gift, you get the Free Speech TV mini kit. This is the, Vote November 11th sticker and the Vote Free Speech TV button. With a $72 gift, you get a copy of my book, We the People, A Call to Take Back America. It's a great illustrated book. It makes a great gift, right? We're heading toward the holiday season. Get a couple and give them to your friends, or your kids or your grandkids. It is suitable for children, say, over 10 or 12 years. It's pretty political, maybe 13, something like. There's no obscenity in it, but it's a serious book, even though it's a comic, a thick one. Anyway. A $120 gift, you get the Vote Free Speech TV T-shirt kit, which is the T-shirt plus the button plus the sticker. With a $240 gift, you get the Free Speech TV Vote Free Speech TV hoodie kit, which is the hoodie, the T-shirt and the hoodie made in the United States. So you get the hoodie and the button and the sticker. With a $360 gift, and all of these, the funny amounts. The reason it's $360 and $240 and like that is because you can divide it by 12. You can make 12 monthly payments or whatever you call it, charges to your credit card, donations of $30 each, and that equals $360 for the year. And then you get the hooded sweatshirt and the button and the sticker. With a $480 gift, that's the all of the above package. You get the T-shirt, the hoodie, my book, We the People, A Call to Take Back America, and the button and the sticker for $480. And with a $1,000 gift, come to Portland, Oregon, and have lunch with me. You saw on the screen, I believe it was yesterday, the people who dropped by on, was it Monday, as I recall? It was Monday? Oh, it was Friday. Friday of last, that's right, Friday. I don't do time well. Thank you, Shira. So last Friday, a bunch of people dropped by, but we put the video in our Monday pitch, and so you got to see the folks who came by. It's always interesting. It's always fascinating, in fact, to get to know people who are, who watch Free Speech TV and care enough to make a significant contribution. So whatever it may be, whatever you can afford, please call now, 877-378-8669. 877-378-8669, and make your contribution to keep this network going, a network that actually is having an impact. We're getting messages out, and it's not the kind of skewed, weird, partisan nonsense that you see on Fox so-called news. I'll call out Democrats as quickly as Republicans when they do poorly. And we cover a lot of stories that the corporate media is simply unwilling to cover the top of that list things like voter suppression or net neutrality, the environment, global climate change, the pharma industry and the drug industries, all these things that mainstream media won't touch. Call now, 877-378-8669. Thank you.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Greetings, my friends, patriots, lovers of democracy, truth, and justice, believers in peace, freedom, and the American way. Thom Hartmann here with you. It is Wednesday. It's time for Middays with Mark. Congressman Mark Pocan is on the line with us for the hour, taking your calls at 202-808-9925. You can find his website at pocan.house.gov, and you can tweet him at Rep. Mark Pocan, as in Representative Mark Pocan. Congressman Pocan, welcome back.
Oh, thanks, Tom. Glad to be here.
It is always great having you with us. So it turns out that Donald Trump lied. He said that the FBI didn't want to be involved in an investigation involving Brett Kavanaugh. And the FBI just came out and said, no, that's what we do. We'd be glad to do that. We did that for Anita Hill. Yeah. And in fact, we never told Trump or anyone at the White House that, so what are your thoughts on all this?
No, I mean, this is starting to look like they could have some real problems if they decide to push this vote and push this last hearing without having an FBI investigation. I mean, this whole story has been interesting, is how it's unfolded from the president not telling the truth about the FBI to now him publicly attacking his attorney general once again. It's gone in a very weird direction, but I think what they're not realizing is this is a very different time than Anita Hill. And if you take someone and treat someone this poorly with very serious allegations, that there is no way that people are going to support that. And it could really backfire for them. So we're going to have to see what unfolds over the next few days. Next week is going to be a crazy week in Washington. Could be our last week in the House before the election. There's some rumors that may happen in between that and this hearing and maybe a vote next week. It's going to be very exciting.
Is one of the reasons that they might be jamming everything into next week and then going on vacation until the election because they're worried, because the Republicans control the show, because they're worried that Donald Trump obsessively wants to shut down the government so he can make a point about his wall, and they're trying to short circuit that?
Well, I think a bigger part, and that could be a part of it, but a bigger part is they just need their members in their districts, because traditionally people hate Congress but like their own member. Mm-hmm. They need to get members out, smiling and not looking like the votes they actually take when they're in Washington. They want to make them be someone else, and they want them to get back home and be friendly. I just was traveling. I was in Omaha, Nebraska on Monday, helping out Cara Eastman, who's running against Bacon, who is one of the more extreme folks in Congress. And, she's a progressive, won a primary there, doing a great general election. Tom, by the way, I met a bunch of your listeners at an event. You got a lot of support in Omaha.
Cool.
A lot of listeners. And then the next day I went and helped Cindy Axney in the Des Moines, Iowa area. There's a feeling out there. You can just, see it. There's a lot of energy. And, these are districts that if you pick up the Omaha district and a Des Moines district, there's a majority without question. And I think they're just nervous and they want to get their members home trying to look like they're not the people that tried to take away their health care and passed a tax bill that gave all the money to the 1% and, all the other terrible things they've been doing this session.
Wow. Wow. By the way, Louise just came and told me that somebody just called who is apparently from your district in Wisconsin, who said that they just got an alert on their phone that there's an active shooter in the district. I don't have any details beyond that. I've got the TV networks up on monitors here in the studio, and I don't see anybody breaking to it. So it might just be one guy, one gun, one victim. Who knows? But just an FYI.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Anyhow, let's pick up some phone calls, okay?
Yes.
All righty. Joe in Buffalo, New York. You are on the air with Congressman Pocan.
Hi, how you doing?
Good, Joe.
Hello. I've got two little points here just to keep it in the public's eye and ear. The one, how are things going with that situation where Trump made that political investment, and then all of a sudden Trump University investigation in Florida died? That's part one. Part two
is Pam Bondi was the one there.
Okay.
She was the
and
AG.
The other thing, I don't hear a peep about it. And if you compare it to Benghazi, with the Republicans spending $30 million on that baloney, we had supposedly a Russian oligarch paying these mercenaries that attacked U.S. troops in Syria, and you don't hear a peep about that anymore. So that's the two things.
Yeah, Joe, let me answer it again a little more generally, because on the first one, I'm not sure. I mean, I think there's a lot of things, should the majority change, we will be investigating to make sure that, we really are doing the due diligence that the public deserves on things. And but let me say, the bigger problem we often have is that the mainstream media does not pick up most of what happens in Washington. They like to have they got about 20 people they put on cameras. They love to talk about Russia. They love to talk about a few other things, but we don't actually talk about real issues or things that people actually are concerned about, because if it doesn't help sell detergent during a commercial break, it's not the mission that they have. These are no longer the news organizations, I think, that we used to have. And unfortunately, in too many cases, they're still very good journalists. I'm a journalism major myself. I have great respect for the profession, but I think the business side of it has made it much harder to have the right things covered, and that's just a problem we have, which is why some of the work we're going to have to do is going to be at the hearing basis should we take the majority.
Howard in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. You're on the air with Congressman Pocan.
Yes, Congressman. Jake Tapper, he's from CNN. He attacked the lady that's running for the district there. Her name is, I think, Cortez. And, he attacked her that some of the things she listed she wanted to do would cost $38 trillion. And that was a vicious attack, and that's not true what she was asking for. I want to remind you, I don't know if you know about the story of the gentleman by the name of Michael Chapin, who flew to Belgium for a hip replacement, and it cost $13,000, and that included the airfare and 6 days in a hospital room and a surgery. So we are priced out of the market. No wonder things cost so much money. If Belgium can do it, what's up with us?
Howard, let me address that part of it. I was just in Japan in a bipartisan delegation in February, and someone got talking about how, I believe it was in Taiwan, it's $10 a day, or is it $100 a day? Either way, for hospital care, for full care, considerably less than obviously a lot of the costs we have here. And how can they do that? And that's part of what we're trying to get across when we talk about a Medicare for all type system, is how can you make sure that everyone is covered, and how can you make sure that we can do it in a much more cost-effective way, which there are so many things that would reduce costs should we be able to do that. So, that's part of what we're trying to get done. There's now a Medicare for All caucus that's kind of been an offshoot from the Progressive Caucus. We're trying to engage more and more members, and we're going to try to make sure people understand why that issue is going to resonate. And I can tell you this that I think is really important to know is around the districts I just was in, the number one issue that's being talked about is health care. In fact, in Des Moines, David Young, the Republican there, voted for the Republican health care bill, 5 times voted against protecting pre-existing conditions, just put out a resolution with 27 swing district Republicans that's a non-binding resolution basically saying we support people with pre-existing conditions. So they voted over and over and over officially to take away health care from people who have pre-existing conditions, and now they're trying to put a little fake front out. You're going to get a lot of that between now and November.
Wow, the public statements have no power. They're just amazing. Sharice in Independence, Missouri, you're on the air with Congressman Pocan.
Thanks for taking my call. I'm going to touch on something from yesterday and then bring it into today. Right to work. Okay, so we got right to work passed here in Missouri. From where I'm from and the umbrella that I'm under, I've noticed that we have been under attack since 2007. That's when I became woke. And over the years, I have lost probably an upwards of $20-something thousand a year. So my pay has gone down. The caller yesterday was talking about how he notices that in his paycheck that he's making more money. Okay, well, I don't see it over here. I don't see it for the people coming behind me. They're working for half the pay that I am. It takes them longer to get to full pay. How is, now that we've passed it, how is right to work going to work? Where are we supposed to go from here with it? And who do we turn to implement it and make it work for the people that are coming up behind us? Because I just don't see it. I mean,
I hear you. No, I'll tell you, from most of the statistics we see, Sharice, what we're finding is whenever you're in a non-unionized job, you're making significantly less than someone in a unionized job. So when you go to right to work, like we just did also in Wisconsin, you're going to see pay flatten or go down, and you're not going to see the same increases where you have more unionized jobs, and that's just factual from multiple studies. So, you know, what people either are offering anecdotal stories that often don't translate to a greater number, or some people could be referring to, they're seeing just a drop more, and I mean a drop, more in their paychecks because of the tax cut bill. Even though 83% went to the top 1%, there's a little bit extra going to people in their checks. The problem is, when I had a conversation yesterday with a bunch of trades folks, carpenters and electricians, they also now lost their ability to deduct all the expenses that they have when they're traveling on the job. So actually, they got a pay cut because of that tax bill, and most people won't realize it until they go to pay their taxes in January or February of next year. So that could be what they refer to, but without question, unionized jobs are going to pay more than not.
Yeah, we should call right to work what it is. It's right to work for less or right to bust a union, because so-called right to work legislation, all that does is give employers a whole new set of tools to break up unions, period. Congressman Mark Pocan taking your calls here on Middays with Mark on the Thom Hartmann Program. We'll be right back.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Congressman Pocan's website, pocan.house.gov, and you can tweet him at Rep. Mark Pocan. And welcome back. Let's see here. Tony in Georgetown, Kentucky. Hey, Tony, thanks for listening on our app. You're on the air with Congressman Mark Pocan. What's up?
Hey, fellas. How did this thing get botched with this letter to Dianne Feinstein? I think it's a mess. And the way that was held on, I don't think that's right. I think we could have done so much more if that thing had been exposed. And because basically it seems like now, from now on, that everything else is gravy, you know, for the Republican Party. Because with the 26 judges they've already instituted, with 10 more to come, and 2 Supreme Court people, everything else is gravy for them. I mean, the mission is accomplished. And I don't know how that happened. How can that happen? That's my take.
Sure, Tony. Well, I mean, let me. It was a lot there. So let me try to address the part I think that I can best address, which is in the case of the letter. I mean, this is someone who didn't want to have to relive what happened. And while she wrote a letter to her member of Congress, and I think, you know, she's been very articulate in the stories I've heard from the journalists, especially that she talked to, this is something that, you know, a woman doesn't want to have to necessarily relive and go through the experience again. And she was afraid of exactly what happened. She's now getting death threats. They've had to move out of their house. All these things have happened that she was trying to avoid, and then finally decided she had to do something about this because it was going to come out. She wanted to do it on her terms. So I don't think this is something that, there's a great political strategy to, wait or anything else. I think this is a human being who said, look, this happened to me. I think someone should know, but I also don't want to have my life torn inside out, which is now exactly what's happened. And the fact that now we won't even do an FBI investigation, the bare minimum we need to on this, and instead a bunch of, let's face it, old white men in the Republican Party want to question her, this could be a true sign of the last gasp, I think, of this Republican Party, because they are not recognizing where the rest of the country is in this issue. So I don't think that there is a mistake in it. I think there's a human being in it, and but let's at the same time realize we've got a guy who may have perjured himself. Looks like maybe 4 times, and now has this, and they want to just rush this appointment through. That's a real mistake.
Yeah. Looking at we just have 40 seconds to the break. Looking at the politics of this, it seems that this story has given cover to the Joe Manchins and Heidi Heitkamps and Claire McCaskill, the 4 or 5, Doug Jones, 4 or 5 conservadems in the Senate who are up for re-election and were concerned about this vote. Is it also going to give cover to Murkowski and Collins? Do you think that this actually has the power to change the vote?
It should, right? If they're going to force this without an investigation, and again, a bunch of old white men make the decisions on this, this could be horrendous for them going into the elections. If they're not watching what's happening in the primaries and in the elections in November with polling around the country, they got to realize that this is not it's not another Anita Hill situation. This is a different time in America, and it could really explode for them. So, let Donald Trump be Donald Trump, I guess, but this is a human being, and this is going to be a situation a lot of people can feel and relate to.
And the day he's sworn in is the last day of Roe v. Wade. I mean, people need to get that. We'll be right back with Congressman Pocan. Free Speech TV is supported by your contributions, and I strongly encourage you during the pledge drives, or even not during the pledge drives, to call Free Speech TV at 877-378-8669 and make a contribution, support Free Speech TV. But that said, our program, the Thom Hartmann Program, what you're watching right now, is sustained by commercial advertising, and we're on commercial stations around the country. We run ads. They pay us for that. And one of the ways that you can support our program is by going to thomhartmann.com, our website, and clicking on the advertisements on that page for our sponsors and buying their products, supporting their products, or letting them know that you care about their products and that you support our show. That's thomhartmann.com, and click on the advertising there to support our program. We really appreciate it. We really appreciate your supporting Free Speech TV by your ongoing, calling and supporting the fundraising drives, and we also would really appreciate if you go to thomhartmann.com.
Want to connect with the show online? You can find the Thom Hartmann Program on
Congressman Mark Pocan on the line taking your calls. And Peter in Chicago. Peter, you're on the air with Congressman Pocan.
Hello, gentlemen. And then I have a question for the congressman that I hope I get an answer to. This is the most ridiculous, outrageous act that's happened in this woman.
Peter, your phone is totally disintegrating here.
Okay, hang on, Tom. It'll get better. She doesn't remember where it happened. The only person she claims that was there has denied any knowledge of this, and her therapist's notes had 4 other people mentioned, but that was a mistake apparently on the therapist's part. This is such a crock. There's not enough there to investigate. The FBI even said so. Now,
she says there were 4 other people at the party.
On the therapist's notes, she mentioned 4 people were there when this occurred, and now they're saying that it's the therapist's mistake. This would never go over in a court of law. The police wouldn't even investigate this because there's not enough evidence. This man's had an outstanding record, and yet it's going to be besmirched because of the last attempt to keep him off the court.
His outstanding record, like trying to prove that Vince Foster was murdered by Hillary Clinton? It's bizarre. Congressman Pocan, your thoughts?
Yeah, I really don't know what to say. I mean, this is what we're seeing across the country, the last grasp by old white men who want to continue to have power in this country regardless of who's in charge. So here's someone, no matter what, the woman's wrong. He's saying things that are just factually not correct. I don't really want to have a debate with him, but I think this is exactly what I'm talking about when I say, the rest of the country doesn't think like this. This is that small subset of the Trump supporters. And if they continue to push this, I think this backfires big time for them.
Yeah. Jesse in Miami. Jesse, a real quick one. We just have a minute to the break.
Yeah, Mr. Pocan, what do you think socialism is? Thanks.
Well, socialism is a political ideology that's out there. I don't know where you're trying to get exactly on this. I do think that, the Republicans are trying to paint a picture that somehow socialism is bad and not necessarily the political definition of what it is, and they're trying to say that every Democrat is a socialist because they think that benefits them. Again, I see this as that last gasp of people who are going down in the water, who are trying to find attacks and put things out there to give people fear, right? That's how the Republicans generally have power, is they make people fear something. And I think, that's what we're watching in this election cycle, Jesse.
Yeah, well said. Congressman Mark Pocan taking your calls for the hour. We'll be back in just a moment. You can contact Congressman Pocan via Twitter at Rep Mark Pocan, R-E-P Mark Pocan, M-A-R-K-P-O-C-A-N. And you can find his webpage at pocan.house.gov. He's the co-chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-808-9925.
Back in just a minute, or a few minutes actually, with more of your calls for Congressman Pocan. We've had a lot of fun being on Free Speech TV all these years. It's been, I think at least 9 or 10 years that we've been doing this program on Free Speech TV. I've been doing the show for 15 years. We started it in our living room or in my office in our home in Montpelier, Vermont, back in March of 2003. But, every now and then you get a reality check on how important Free Speech TV really is and how effective Free Speech TV is. Congressman Mark Pocan on this program, he was on today. He's on, every week doing what Bernie used to do. I mean, for 11 years, Bernie was here every single Friday for the first hour. Congressman Pocan every single Wednesday for the first hour. And Congressman Pocan, of course, is the vice chair of the co-chair, him and Raul Grijalva are the chairman of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, which is a pretty big deal. And he actually, on our program, talked about how, as a result of a call that he got from one of you, he wrote and introduced legislation to protect our voting. And Congressman Ro Khanna last week was on. He comes on every other week, more or less, and takes calls. And he said that wherever he goes in the country now, people are saying, hey, I saw you on Thom Hartmann's program, or I heard you on Thom Hartmann's program, or both. So, I mean, this is not to pat myself on the back. It's to say this television network has a reach. This television network is getting a message out. This television network is having an effect. If you want to affect the political future of this country, make a contribution now to Free Speech TV. 877-378-8669 is the telephone number. It is necessary to keep this network going. We have not been hitting our goals. We need your help. 877-378-8669. Any amount is useful. We get a lot of small contributions, and they're really appreciated. And we get the occasional large one, and that's really appreciated. But whatever you can give, please help us keep this thing going. We want more of these success stories from members of Congress who have come on this program. With a $30 gift, you get the Free Speech TV mini kit. This is the, Vote November 11th sticker and the Vote Free Speech TV button. With a $72 gift, you get a copy of my book, We the People, A Call to Take Back America. It's a great illustrated book. It makes a great gift, right? We're heading toward the holiday season. Get a couple and give them to your friends, or your kids or your grandkids. It is suitable for children, say, over 10 or 12 years. It's pretty political, maybe 13, something like. There's no obscenity in it, but it's a serious book, even though it's a comic, a thick one. Anyway. A $120 gift. You get the Vote Free Speech TV T-shirt kit, which is the T-shirt plus the button plus the sticker. With a $240 gift, you get the Free Speech TV Vote Free Speech TV hoodie kit, which is the hoodie, the T-shirt and the hoodie made in the United States. So you get the hoodie and the button and the sticker. With a $360 gift, and all of these, the funny amounts. The reason it's $360 and $240 and like that is because you can divide it by 12. You can make 12 monthly payments or whatever you call it, charges to your credit card, donations of $30 each, and that equals $360 for the year. And then you get the hooded sweatshirt and the button and the sticker. With a $480 gift, that's the all of the above package. You get the T-shirt, the hoodie, my book, We the People, A Call to Take Back America, and the button and the sticker for $480. And with a $1,000 gift, come to Portland, Oregon, and have lunch with me. You saw on the screen, I believe it was yesterday, the people who dropped by on, was it Monday, as I recall? It was Monday? Oh, it was Friday. Friday blessing. That's right. Friday. I don't do time well. Thank you, Shira. So last Friday, a bunch of people dropped by, but we put the video in our Monday pitch, and so you got to see the folks who came by. It's always interesting. It's always fascinating, in fact, to get to know people who are, who watch Free Speech TV and care enough to make a significant contribution. So whatever it may be, whatever you can afford, please call now, 877-378-8669. 877-378-8669, and make your contribution to keep this network going, a network that actually is having an impact. We're getting messages out, and it's not the kind of skewed, weird, partisan nonsense that you see on Fox so-called news. I'll call out Democrats as quickly as Republicans when they do poorly. And we cover a lot of stories that the corporate media is simply unwilling to cover. At the top of that list, things like voter suppression or net neutrality, the environment, global climate change, the pharma industry and the drug industries, all these things that mainstream media won't touch. Call now, 877-378-8669. Thank you.
Want to connect with the show online? You can find the Thom Hartmann Program on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Welcome back. It's anything goes Friday. What? It is Middays with Mark, Congressman Mark Pocan, taking your calls today. And John in San Francisco, listening in on AM 910, our iHeartRadio affiliate in San Francisco. You're on the air with Congressman Pocan.
Good morning, Professor. Good morning, Congressman. How are you today?
Good, thank you.
Great.
Did you know there was a rumor going around that on Labor Day weekend, Trump was raising and lowering the flag so much that he tried to pay it off with a $130,000 payment?
Oh, no. That's terrible, John. Is that what you called to do?
No, I just start with a little humor.
All
anyway,
right.
My point is why can't we establish a pair of Congresspeople, Democratic Congresspeople, at the Congress every day of work around 2 p.m. West Coast time, 5 p.m. I guess it'd be East Coast, to discuss the business of the day of Congress from a Democratic perspective, so that it's covered eventually. Because there's over 1,000 press people probably in D.C., I imagine you would be covered, and eventually it would permeate through the news cycle.
Congressman.
But, yeah, John, I wish it was as simple as that, because we do multiple press conferences a day, from leadership to caucuses to individual members.
Every single day?
Every single day. I don't think there's a day there's not, I would guess, a dozen press conferences by Democrats, not just on the House side, much less the Senate. We're always trying to get information out because clearly, we know we win. People agree with us on the issues, right? We want to be able to get the information out. The problem is it's just, it's been very difficult with the mainstream media. Yes, there is the 24/7 social media, all the rest, and we can get things out there, but it doesn't still reach the same amount of people. So we've been trying, and actually, I think people are starting to get media in different ways, and there's a reason why we're doing so well across the country in the election cycles, because people are upset with the direction that they're seeing Congress go. So I guess to some level that information is getting out. It's just a lot more difficult to get it out in the way that we would like to, which is a lot of information out at one time.
Anita in San Antonio, you're on the air with Congressman Pocan.
Hi, Congressman Pocan. Hi, Tom. Yeah, I am so angry when I heard that gentleman call and start calling this woman a liar. What reason would she have for making up a story like that? She is the one she's had to move out of her house with her teenage children. She is getting death threats. She knew exactly what was going to happen. That's why she took the lie detector test. That's why she had told her therapist years ago that this had happened to her. She's not lying. Women understand that. You know why? Because a lot of us have experienced something very similar to that, if not exactly like that. So, I don't understand why these men, I agree with Mazie Hirono, and tell me if you agree, that men should either step up or shut up.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question. One of the things already they were worried about was you can't have, 11 more senior white Republicans trying to do questioning on this. I mean, let's face it. If anyone watched that Facebook hearing, you saw that, let's face it, Congress is not a hip bunch. And there's certain, general things. And when you get to the point of having a bunch of guys who already are deciding that she may not be telling the truth, asking questions, I think it could really, really backfire. They should do the thorough process. You're exactly right, Ina. Why would someone lie about this? She purposely tried to stay out of it because she knew what would happen. Her life would be turned inside out. What's happened? Her life's turned inside out. This is not done for politics. She's doing it because someone's about to be appointed to the Supreme Court for the rest of their life. So this is something serious, and if they're saying, well, it's calendared, we're busy, I think you're going to have a whole lot of people, including moderate Republican-leaning women, saying you're not going to trust someone and you're just going to push it anyway because it was calendared. Well, maybe I'm not voting. Maybe I'm voting for the Democrats this time. So, it's a shame that people still think like that, but we're all going to do our best to make sure that we get a fair hearing for her and that we have the proper review and process in place. And, yeah, Mazie Hirono is exactly right.
Josh in Madison, Wisconsin, you're on the air with Congressman Pocan.
Hi, Mr. Pocan. Proud to have you as my representative.
Thank you, Josh.
I don't know if you heard the news yet or not, but there was a mass shooting in Middleton, Wisconsin today at an office building. And I just wanted to know, it seems in Wisconsin lately with Scott Walker as our governor and the Republicans controlling everything, they've been making it easier and easier to put guns in the hands of criminals by getting rid of waiting times and everything else. I just wanted to know if the Democrats are working to change any of that in the upcoming session.
Sure. Well, first of all, Josh, let me just give everyone an update because it was brought up at the beginning of the show. It's not necessarily that there's a bunch of we don't know what's happened yet. What we know is in Middleton, Wisconsin, someone supposedly went into a building with a gun. They are evacuating people out of the building. There were ambulances sent there, but no one from the medical examiner's office, which usually means there's a fatal shooting. We're not sure that anyone was even shot from the information we have yet. So we're still, just so everyone knows, we're monitoring it very closely, but we don't have a lot of information. It just all happened within the last hour. But absolutely at the congressional level, we are trying to address with the issue of guns. I mean, we've tried over and over, right? After every mass shooting, we've made one more effort. The thing I think that's finally breaking through is when the shooting happened with the Parkland students. It's being done in a different way than traditionally how we've talked about it. You suddenly have a bunch of young people who aren't afraid of anything, who are speaking from their hearts, the reality of their lives and what they experienced, and it started a movement around the country of a lot of other young people speaking out on this issue. So, I think we will absolutely deal with a number of the issues that we've already said we would do, should we take the majority. But I think the interesting part about the moment right now is it's actually becoming a movement, and it's becoming a movement led by the youth. And to me, this is it feels different than all the other times when we didn't get something done. So I am hopeful.
Kent in Spokane, Washington. You're on the air with Congressman Pocan.
Good morning, Congressman. I just have a question about the Kavanaugh theory, or his possible appointment, and I feel like everybody's hair's on fire about his possible appointment. And my question is this: who would benefit more by his appointment, President Trump or Putin? My feeling is this, that I know that everybody's pushing the theory that Trump wants him because he doesn't really stand for any presidential oversight. And so my theory is this, that Trump will be gone in 2 to 6 years, but if he gets in, Putin will benefit extremely well because he'll have a very strong conservative Supreme Court that supports the oligarchs. And Putin's in the process of dismantling democracies all over the world. So what say you?
Yeah, Kent, I don't know if I'm bought into that. I think, when I look at Kavanaugh, one, I completely agree that the reason Donald Trump, I think, has interest in him is because he's the one person he looked at who said he doesn't think he should go after a president while they're in office. So I think that is definitely looming. But I think a lot of the reason that conservatives and Republicans want him is he is an extremist. He's a hardcore conservative judge that will now go into a lifetime position on the Supreme Court. So I don't know if there's a Putin factor here. Personally, I don't think that is an issue, but I do think the Republicans have to be very careful on this because as much as they want to have a conservative justice put in, they have to be careful how they proceed on the next week. And if they tell a woman who has made a very credible claim about this person and they don't do an FBI investigation, they don't do any serious due process, I think there's going to be a real price to be paid. So let's hope for the best on this, but we are organizing with all the groups out there to make sure that she gets a fair hearing.
Russell in Hickory, Illinois. You're on the air with Congressman Pocan.
Hi, yes. Thanks for taking my call, Mr. Pocan. As a progressive looking in, who do you think's going to burn the Republican Party to the ground? Donald Trump, Kavanaugh, or just the name Republican? Because what you're going to see Monday, it's going to be an embarrassment to their party. Who? Orrin Hatch, who's calling her a nut? Grassley don't even want to hold this. Or Corning. Because I'll tell you what, I think it's time to strip away women's rights between Collins. We forgot what's her name, the hog in Iowa, Joni Ernst and Lisa Murkowski, because they're an embarrassment to the women's movement. What do you think? Because you come to Illinois, our governor just fell to 26% approval rating. That's what he's going on when he's running for re-election. What do you think of that? You think it's time one of these three are going to burn this party to the ground?
Yeah, well, I think Donald Trump is the one who is the leading candidate for that. He has taken what I think was a Republican Party based on somewhat conservative values, more so probably on special interest values, and made it about him, made it a cult of a personality, and he's now got, roughly, depending on the poll, 35% of support, largely based on, his more racist statements about where the country is going and what he sees for it. But that's tearing apart the Republican Party. And, when you look at elections around the country, we're watching, people are just tired of it. It's not the country that they believe in. You can disagree with someone ideologically, But, when we're busy fighting about porn stars and S-holes and very fine Klansmen and Nazis, this is more than most people who aren't political ever bargained for. And I think Donald Trump is probably leading it. And then I would put really close up there Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell, who do absolutely nothing to stand up to it.
Yeah. If anything, the opposite, in fact, it seems.
Yeah, in fact, they are actually more culpable because I at least think they're adults.
Yeah, amen. We'll be back with the Congressman Mark Pocan in just a minute. You can tweet him at Rep. Mark Pocan, his website, pocan.house.gov. He's the co-chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann. Visit ThomHartmann.com for audio and video archives.
And, of course, he brilliantly and ably represents the 2nd District of Wisconsin. We'll be right back. And welcome back. John in Edgewater, Florida, watching on Free Speech TV. You're on the air with Congressman Pocan.
Hello, yes. I'm a classic liberal, and I do believe, and I'm not a Trump supporter. In fact, I hate the guy. But there's no evidence whatsoever of this accuser's accusation. So, I mean...
Actually, that's not true, John. There is evidence.
Okay, well, yes, there was a witness. He's declined. He said he wasn't even there.
No, there's the evidence of 6 years ago her telling this story to her therapist.
Okay,
and there's also, if you read my Twitter feed, John, you'll also find that there are a number of women who knew her back in that day who have come out and said, yeah, this is the kind of stuff that went on. John, I'm going to cut you off. We've already heard from another troll who is, trying to spout the Fox line. Congressman, did you want to respond to that, or you want to just pick up another caller?
No, I mean exactly what you said. But Tom, I got to admit, this is what is unfortunate about this, right? Look how many people have called in already trying to take that type of a line, and they don't see the problem with taking that position.
Right.
But that is a true minority, and I think this is going to backfire for the real majority of this country that is pretty much disgusted by that type of thought.
I think you're right. Brian in Pacific Grove, California. Hey, Brian, thanks for watching us on YouTube. You're on with Congressman Pocan.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Your turn.
I love that last caller, too, had to disclaim that he was a liberal. Like, that makes it any better than conservative.
Yeah, if you believe that, I got a bridge to sell you. But anyhow, back to you.
I mean, personally, I'm actually a socialist, and the subject of my call is workers' cooperatives. I'm pretty flabbergasted that, just about the only people I hear even talking about them these days are you and Richard Wolff. And, it annoys me to a certain degree when I hear about these so-called progressives like Ocasio-Cortez talking about the government programs that we do need, but definitely not going far enough, I think, to even warrant a label of, like, social democrat or democratic socialist or whatever she's floating by these days.
Brian apparently wants to attack. It's bizarre the way that these kind of sideways attacks are coming in, Congressman.
Yeah, I'm not sure his question.
No, he just wanted to. He just wanted to slam Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. It's rather sad.
If he wanted to actually talk about cooperatives, I'll be glad to. I helped form a cooperative caucus in Congress. If he wants.
Well, you have 46 seconds. Why don't you go for it?
Yeah, it's a very viable business model. We have, I think, more in my district than anywhere in the country, and that's a legit thing if you just want to go after people who are going to be great new progressive members of Congress simply because old white men are losing power in this country. I'm not sure if I can help.
Yeah. Well, I guarantee that every member of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, including one who will be, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, supports the idea of workers' co-ops. That's just...
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And, I've even got Republicans in the caucus. So that's if his issue is cooperatives, we got a lot of support. If his issue is with progressives, too bad.
Yeah, this circular firing squad. Except, you just never know. I've never heard from this guy before. He may well not even be a regular listener. Who knows? It's 10 minutes.
I didn't understand the question. So.
Yeah, there you go. 10 minutes before the hour. We'll be back with more of your calls for Congressman Pocan right after this. Free Speech TV is supported by your contributions, and I strongly encourage you during the pledge drives, or even not during the pledge drives, to call Free Speech TV at 877-378-8669 and make a contribution, support Free Speech TV. But that said, our program, the Thom Hartmann Program, what you're watching right now, is sustained by commercial advertising, and we're on commercial stations around the country. We run ads, they pay us for that. And one of the ways that you can support our program is by going to thomhartmann.com, our website, and clicking on the advertisements on that page for our sponsors and buying their products, supporting their products, or letting them know that you care about their products and that you support our show. That's thomhartmann.com, and click on the advertising there to support our program. We really appreciate it. We really appreciate your supporting Free Speech TV by your ongoing, calling and supporting the fundraising drives, and we also would really appreciate if you go to thomhartmann.com.
Want to connect with the show online? You can find the Thom Hartmann Program on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
It's anything go. It's why am I saying that? It is Middays with Mark, Congressman Mark Pocan, taking your calls today, and let's see here, Robert in Marshfield, Wisconsin. Robert, you're on the air with Congressman Pocan.
Yeah, I want to talk about the multi-employer pension crisis. I'm with Central States, and I guess Central States and United Mine Workers are the ones that are about to go bankrupt by 2025. And there's supposed to be a bipartisan committee about, trying to deal with this crisis, and it's supposed to be handled by November. And I was just wondering if you knew what was going to happen with that, and if they're going to come up with some kind of solution. They said there was going to be a bailout. I thought it was $15 billion it would take, which was actually a drop in a bucket compared to a lot of other bailouts. I just wanted your thoughts on that.
Yeah, Robert. So I don't know if I have great news for you in that there is a bipartisan bicameral commission put together to look specifically at that issue of the Central States Fund and the multi-employer pension issue. That, and perhaps they may go a little broader. First meeting was a dismal failure. They talked at each other, and Republicans don't really want to address this in the way I think that you would be very happy with. So they have met a couple times since then, but the reality is there's not a lot of time between now and November to actually have that get done. There's good people on the Democratic side on that committee, some good friends of mine from our caucus who are working on the issue, but we have not seen what necessarily will give a result, especially a result, I think, of a bailout. I don't think will happen, but we also realize if we do nothing, a lot of people's lives are going to be very negatively affected. So this may be one that takes changing the majority to actually ensure that we can get this resolved.
Joe in Reno, Nevada, you're on the air with Congressman Pocan.
Yeah, hi. It's good to get into you, Tom. I have a way to overturn the House from Republican to Democrat. All you have to do is get this saying out. If you'd like to lower your standard of living, then vote Republican.
Congressman?
Yeah, I tell you, Joe, I'm with you in the idea is the Republicans are for very clearly a certain small subsegment of the population. I mean, their tax bill, 83% of the money went to the top 1%. They lowered the rate for corporations. They've done everything they can to make it harder for people to have access to health care, and if you have a pre-existing condition, you could actually lose access to health care. They've done everything that seems counter, so you make a good point. I think right now what we're finding is, talking about health care and prescription drug prices, talking about good-paying jobs and investing in our infrastructure, and then talking just about the culture of corruption in Washington seems to be what resonates the best. And I think it definitely overlaps with what you're saying. But, some people see it in the aspect of health care. Some are seeing it in the aspect, as I talked to some union workers in Des Moines just yesterday, who are going to wind up with a tax increase because of the tax cut bill, because they've lost deductions on things that were part of their normal expenses, but they're not rich people. They weren't having anyone look out for them in the Republican caucus. So your point is well made.
Kevin in Olympia, Washington, you're on the air with Congressman Pocan.
Hi, this is Kevin. Am I on?
You're on the air, Kevin. We have 2 minutes to the end of the hour.
Sorry, we had some static there for just a moment. My question's about, by the way, I'm not a troll. I was discharged as a conscientious objector from the Air Force. No way I'm going to be taking that tack. But my question's about Kavanaugh, Senate rules. The Dems had to, or some of them had to ignore the rules in order to reveal some information, put them at risk for dismissal from Congress. At the same time, they took an oath to uphold the Constitution. So my question generally is about that conflict and for the congressman maybe resolving that and taking that risk. And is there any precedent? So that's all I want to ask.
Yeah, so I think, are you referring to Cory Booker releasing some documents and things like that?
Yes.
Yeah, so, I think these are unprecedented times, right? And, we watched the obstruction when Barack Obama had a full year left and they wouldn't pass his nominee, and we've watched that happen. In this case, if they're not going to give you the information you actually need to confirm someone for the rest of their life, I think Democrats are finally standing with a firmer spine, which I'm pretty glad about, and doing some things that maybe will raise some of these questions. But clearly, this is the most strange time, I think, in many of our lifetimes to watch what's happening in Washington. And I think it's, time Democrats fight back with a bare knuckle, and I think that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah. And by the way, we have about 20 seconds to the end of the hour. What should we be looking for in this coming week here, Congressman?
So next week is going to be a very busy week in Washington with the Kavanaugh hearing, and the House is back in maybe for the last week. Make sure you're reaching out to your members of Congress and the Senate. This may be your last blast before the election. And in the House, I know at least people are in districts. Find your member of Congress where they're at in the public and make them answer some questions. This may be your last few weeks to do it.
Yeah, and the Republicans are in all probability going to be hiding out, right?
Oh, yeah, I think check some local country clubs. You might find them.
There you go, or the golf course. Congressman Pocan, thanks so much for being with us today.
Absolutely, Tom. Thank you.
Great talking with you. Middays with Mark here on the Thom Hartmann Program. His website, pocan.house.gov. You can tweet him at @RepMarkPocan. And a great guy. Greg Pallas is up next. Stick around.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann.
We've had a lot of fun being on Free Speech TV all these years. It's been, I think at least 9 or 10 years that we've been doing this program on Free Speech TV. I've been doing the show for 15 years. We started it in our living room or in my office in our home in Montpelier, Vermont, back in March of 2003. But every now and then you get a reality check on how important Free Speech TV really is and how effective Free Speech TV is. Congressman Mark Pocan on this program, he was on today. He's on, every week doing what Bernie used to do. I mean, for 11 years, Bernie was here every single Friday for the first hour. Congressman Pocan every single Wednesday for the first hour. And Congressman Pocan, of course, is the vice chair of the co-chair, him and Raul Grijalva are the chairman of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, which is a pretty big deal. And he actually, on our program, talked about how, as a result of a call that he got from one of you, he wrote and introduced legislation to protect our voting. And Congressman Ro Khanna last week was on. He comes on every other week, more or less, and takes calls. And he said that wherever he goes in the country now, people are saying, hey, I saw you on Thom Hartmann's program, or I heard you on Thom Hartmann's program, or both. So, I mean, this is not to pat myself on the back. It's to say this television network has a reach. This television network is getting a message out. This television network is having an effect. If you want to affect the political future of this country, make a contribution now to Free Speech TV. 877-378-8669 is the telephone number. It is necessary to keep this network going. We have not been hitting our goals. We need your help. 877-378-8669. Any amount is useful. You know, we get a lot of small contributions, and they're really appreciated. And we get the occasional large one, and that's really appreciated. But whatever you can give, please help us keep this thing going. We want more of these success stories from members of Congress who have come on this program. With a $30 gift, you get the Free Speech TV mini kit. This is the, you know, Vote November 11th sticker and the Vote Free Speech TV button. With a $72 gift, you get a copy of my book, We the People, A Call to Take Back America. It's a great illustrated book. It makes a great gift, right? We're heading toward the holiday season. Get a couple and give them to your friends, you know, or your kids or your grandkids. It is suitable for children, say, over 10 or 12 years. It's pretty political, you know, maybe 13, something like. There's no obscenity in it, but it's a serious book, even though it's a comic, a thick one. You know, anyway. A $120 gift, you get the Vote Free Speech TV T-shirt kit, which is the T-shirt plus the button plus the sticker. With a $240 gift, you get the Free Speech TV Vote Free Speech TV hoodie kit, which is the hoodie, the T-shirt and the hoodie made in the United States. So you get the hoodie and the button and the sticker. With a $360 gift, and all of these, the funny amounts. The reason it's $360 and $240 and like that is because you can divide it by 12. You can make 12 monthly payments of, or whatever you call it, charges to your credit card, donations of $30 each, and that equals $360 for the year. And then you get the hooded sweatshirt and the button and the sticker. With a $480 gift, that's the all of the above package. You get the T-shirt, the hoodie, my book, We the People, A Call to Take Back America, and the button and the sticker for $480. And with a $1,000 gift, come to Portland, Oregon, and, you know, have lunch with me. You saw on the screen, I believe it was yesterday, the people who dropped by on, was it Monday, as I recall? It was Monday? Oh, it was Friday. Friday Blessing. That's right, Friday. I don't do time well. Thank you, Shira. So last Friday, a bunch of people dropped by, but we put the video in our Monday pitch, and so you got to see the folks who came by. It's always interesting. It's always fascinating, in fact, to get to know people who are, you know, who watch Free Speech TV and care enough to make a significant contribution. So whatever it may be, whatever you can afford, please call now, 877-378-8669. 877-378-8669, and make your contribution to keep this network going, a network that actually is having an impact. We're getting messages out, and it's not the kind of skewed, weird, partisan nonsense that you see on Fox so-called news. I'll call out Democrats as quickly as Republicans when they do poorly. And you know, and we cover a lot of stories that the corporate media is simply unwilling to cover. At the top of that list, things like voter suppression or net neutrality, the environment, global climate change, the pharma industry and the drug industries, all these things that mainstream media won't touch. Call now, 877-378-8669. Thank you. Free Speech TV is supported by your contributions, and I strongly encourage you during the pledge drives, or even not during the pledge drives, to call Free Speech TV at 877-378-8669 and make a contribution, support Free Speech TV. But that said, our program, the Thom Hartmann Program, what you're watching right now, is sustained by commercial advertising, and we're on commercial stations around the country. We run ads, they pay us for that. And one of the ways that you can support our program is by going to thomhartmann.com, our website, and clicking on the advertisements on that page for our sponsors and buying their products, supporting their products, or letting them know that you care about their products and that you support our show. That's thomhartmann.com, and click on the advertising there to support our program. We really appreciate it. We really appreciate your supporting Free Speech TV by your ongoing, calling and supporting the fundraising drives, and we also would really appreciate if you go to thomhartmann.com.
Want to connect with the show online? You can find the Thom Hartmann Program on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
I'm very sorry. That was entirely my problem, or my fault. I didn't have my microphone plugged in. Brian Kemp, enemy of democracy, the headline by an article by Carol Anderson in the New York Times. It talks about Brian Kemp, says he has a skill set that Mr. Trump desperately needed, but was curiously silent about in his endorsement. Brian Kemp is a master of voter suppression. On the line with us is our old friend Greg Palast. He is the reporter, investigative journalist, author, filmmaker. His most recent, The Best Democracy Money Can Buy, gregpalast.com, of course, his website. And you can tweet him, just like I'm Thom_Hartmann. He's Greg_Palast. Greg, welcome back.
Glad to be with you, Tom.
So what's the latest on the great vote purge that Brian Kemp, the guy who wants to be governor of Georgia, has been running as Secretary of State of Georgia?
Well, get ready. This just came in last night from my computer experts. I've got a whole team that have been going through the over 500,000 names that Brian Kemp coughed up to me of people he's purged under threat of a federal lawsuit. He was within hours of a deadline. He's still with stonewalling on some stuff, but here's the top line, man. We have 106,000 Georgians who we know absolutely were wrongly removed from the voter rolls. Now, that number might double, but it's over 100,000 Georgians. We have their names, we have their addresses, and as of this afternoon, this is a special first for the Thom Hartmann audience. Go to gregpalast.com if you're in Georgia, and please look up your name. We will have the entire 106,000 people who've been purged. In fact, we're putting up the entire 500,000 who've been purged. Your name's on that list. Please re-register online right this minute. 106,000. And you have to understand, Brian Kemp, who's the Republican Secretary of State, is running for governor against Stacey Abrams, Democrat. And, non-incidentally, she would be the first black female governor in American history if she wins. The polls are absolutely neck and neck. Maybe Abrams is a little bit ahead. But if you knock out somewhere between 100,000 and 500,000 voters, then it's not the voters that are electing the governor. It's Brian Kemp's little Jim Crow machine, which is what it is. And so please, we will have up the name of every one of these voters. In addition, we're launching very quickly on an emergency basis an operation with civil rights leaders like Maynard Eaton to put students on the street to literally knock doors and say, by the way, you just lost your right to vote. Please go and register. We are also working with the great Joe Beasley, who's the Southern States Coordinator for Operation Rainbow Push, with the Reverend Lowry's organization. We're getting all the civil rights leaders of Atlanta together to move real quick on this 100,000 plus people who've been wiped out. We have their names, we have their addresses. We're going to try to get as many phone numbers to contact people on the street to knock doors, please. And by the way, this is just state one, but it was the most important state because of this tight race. It's not a matter of whether I'm for Stacey Abrams. It's a matter of whether I'm for the voters electing their governor, not a computer.
Yeah, sounds like a plan. Louise and I lived in Georgia for, I think, 13 years in total. And there's, CNN is headquartered in Atlanta. Cox Communications is headquartered in Atlanta, or at least used to be. There are some major media empires that are rooted in Georgia. Are they picking this story up?
Well, we're going to go to them with the lists of voters, with the names, with the victims. We're actually going door to door, and we would like some people, if you see your name on the list at gregpalast.com, send me a message saying, yeah, I found my name on the list. Can we talk? Because it's very important that the media likes bodies, not lists and numbers. So we have to play in their sandbox the way that they like to play. But that, the important thing is, let's see if they pick it up. I mean, we have a terrible time getting major media to pick up these stories of racial vote suppression. We got that one story, as you mentioned, from the New York Times. That was an op-ed.
Right.
God forbid they should actually cover the subject and send someone down to investigate. We have an entire huge team on this, and Georgia's the first state. We're going to be, as you know, Tom, the Palast Investigative Fund and our lawyers, great lawyers all over the country, and headed by Jeannie Meyer, New York, we've sued in 26 states, and we've had about half. They're dropping like flies because they don't want to have to go into federal court and explain why they are hiding their operations, their purge operations. So we've had about half the states already coughing up their lists. So we're putting literally millions of names of vanished voters into our machines. Georgia will be up today shortly. Please go to gregpalast.com, but get ready for the other states. We're talking Indiana, Ohio, Michigan, Oklahoma, and many more coming.
Greg, it seems like this is the, Occam's razor explanation for redshift, where, people walk out of the voting place and they tell an exit poller, yeah, I voted for Al Gore, or fill in the blank, right? And it turns out that their vote was never counted, and thus the actual vote tally is a little more Republican than the exit polls show. And if that's the case, this isn't the first time this has happened. Brian Kemp didn't just start this week this year as he was deciding to run for governor. How many cumulatively in Georgia, and then what's your estimate in other states? This is obviously something that's been going on at least since 2000 and probably since Reconstruction. What's your estimate of how many voters have actually, it may be in Georgia, who think that they're registered to vote, who will show up at the polls and be given a placebo provisional ballot?
Get ready. From the information and lists and material we've received from Brian Kemp, it looks like a little less than 750,000 Georgians have been wiped out without good cause from the voter rolls. And you're exactly right about this exit polling business. Why is it that the exit polls are always more democratic than the so-called official count? And the answer is, when you speak to an exit pollster, you say how you just voted. I've never seen an exit pollster say, did you vote on a provisional ballot? Do you know if your vote was counted? We know, for example, in Michigan in 2016, 75,355 ballots in Detroit were not counted. The machines broke down. So if you're in an exit poll, the exit polls say Hillary Clinton won Michigan. Yeah, because that's what people did vote, and they voted for Hillary Clinton, not Donald Trump. But when the vote is counted, all those people who were handed provisional ballots because their names were missing from the voter rolls, all those people with the bad machines, and it's always in the poor areas, their votes never got tallied. That accounts very accurately, by the way. I've done some very careful calculations. I'm an old statistician by trade. It's very close to that so-called redshift. It's the people who thought they voted, but their vote never got tallied. You see it in Georgia, it's going to be really big in Georgia. And by the way, Kansas, where the original lists, the purge list, some of them came from Chris Kobach of Kansas that went to Brian Kemp. And that's a tight race in Kansas as well. We have this odd thing, by the way. Kemp is the Secretary of State determining who gets to vote, where they get to vote. Remember, he's closed many polling stations in low-income areas. How they get to vote, which votes get tallied, who gets provisional ballots, all that. He's the Secretary of State, and he's running for governor. I mean, if the Russians did that, we'd say, there you go.
Yeah, it's like Fox meet Henhouse.
So yeah, you got it exactly right, Tom.
Yeah, this is bizarre. So get over to Greg Palast, P-A-L-A-S-T, Greg, G-R-E-G, Palast, P-A-L-A-S-T, if you don't know already. GregPalast.com, and particularly if you're in Georgia, or if you know anyone in Georgia who might be a registered Democrat, because that's who's going to be purged by Brian Kemp, the guy who's running for governor there, and check it out. Greg, you're the best. Thanks so much for being with us today.
You're welcome.
We'll be back. It's 15 minutes past the hour.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
More of the news of the day, and I'll be picking up your phone calls in just a second. Stick around. And welcome back. Let's see here. Mike in Nixon, Illinois, watching us on YouTube. Hey, Mike, what's on your mind?
Hey, I got a quick question and comment. I think that the whole Kavanaugh issue isn't going to matter whether he did it or not come next week. It's going to be more if the Democrats or Republicans can make the other look so bad to where they would have to step back from it. And my question is, do you not think that Trump is already working on Plan B in case Kavanaugh doesn't make it?
Of course he is.
Even a more conservative judge up for the Supreme Court?
Yes, absolutely. I think the thing that gave Kavanaugh an edge in Trump's mind, and the reason why Trump picked him over the objection of Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell was opposed to Kavanaugh being the nominee because Kavanaugh has such a long judicial record that he felt that there would be lots of opportunities for people to find decisions that Kavanaugh had made with which most people would disagree. And sure enough, that's happened. And so, McConnell wanted somebody who was, relatively new to the judge scene and didn't have that kind of record. So, and the Federalist Society, which is this right-wing crank group that is funded by the billionaires, the Kochs, and others, has come up with this list. 4 of the Supreme Court justices currently serving are Federalist Society members, and they've come up with a list, and the only people that Donald Trump is picking are from that list. So, you've got something very bizarre going on here. I'm with you. Kathy in New York City. Hey, Kathy, what's on your mind today?
Hi, I've been listening to your show for quite some time. Thank you for doing it.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask you about what you think the chances are for actually changing the Supreme Court to have term limits, and what you think the chances would be and what would have to happen.
It could easily be passed by the House and Senate. The Article 3, Section 2 of the Constitution says that the Supreme Court operates under regulations and exceptions defined by Congress. And Congress has changed the number of members of the Supreme Court a number of times. Congress has the power to impose term limits, which I think, frankly, is a good idea. Maybe not a certain number of a certain age, which was simply cause them to start picking younger and younger justices, which is what they've done with Brett Kavanaugh, but rather say a Supreme Court term shall be limited to 15 years, for example, or 20 years. And just that's that. And then that way you can plan on, and for the first 10 years or so, you would change those so that there was a gradual release of Supreme Court nominees, and sort of like the Senate, every 2 years we elect 1/3 of the Senate. Over time, you'd have basically every couple of years there'd be a new Supreme Court justice coming in. I also think that increasing the size of the Supreme Court, the number of justices, and I'm talking substantially, increase it to like 20, 25, 30 justices would give better representation. But I think that what you've identified is a real thing, Kathy. The problem is that it's very political to do that. It has the radical Republicans in the 1870s took the Supreme Court up to 10 members for a couple of years in order to try to block efforts by Democrats and the old-fashioned Republicans to block implementation of the 14th Amendment. But, that just lasted for a little while. But it could be done. And then you look back at FDR's court packing scheme and read about that in the book about Frances Perkins, the woman behind the New Deal, and you get how this can be done. Kathy, excellent question, and thank you for the call. And thanks for watching us in New York City. We'll be right back. Free Speech TV is supported by your contributions, and I strongly encourage you during the pledge drives, or even not during the pledge drives, to call Free Speech TV at 877-378-8669 and make a contribution, support Free Speech TV. But that said, our program, the Thom Hartmann Program, what you're watching right now, is sustained by commercial advertising, and we're on commercial stations around the country. We run ads. They pay us for that. And one of the ways that you can support our program is by going to thomhartmann.com, our website, and clicking on the advertisements on that page for our sponsors and buying their products, supporting their products, or letting them know that you care about their products and that you support our show. That's thomhartmann.com, and click on the advertising there to support our program. We really appreciate it. We really appreciate your supporting Free Speech TV by your ongoing, calling and supporting the fundraising drives, and we also would really appreciate if you go to thomhartmann.com.
Want to connect with the show online? You can find the Thom Hartmann Program on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
At blindsgalore.com. Control with an app on your phone. I mean, just amazing stuff. We were picking up phone calls. There's a lot in the news. Trump lying again. Surprise, surprise. He says that nobody in the FBI, the FBI shouldn't be investigating Brett Kavanaugh. He shouldn't be investigating these allegations that he tried to rape this young girl when he was 17, when she was 15. They shouldn't be talking to her friend or his friend rather, who was there. Both Brett Kavanaugh and his friend have said that they don't want to testify. And the Republicans are saying they don't want to testify under oath to the FBI because lying to the FBI is a crime. The woman, Ms. Ford, Dr. Ford, who is alleging this attempted rape, she actually does want to talk to the FBI, and she's quite cognizant that lying to the FBI is a crime. But Donald Trump, he's lying about the FBI. He told reporters at the White House, he said, I don't think the FBI really needs to be involved because they don't want to be involved. If they wanted to be, I'd certainly do that. But as you know, they say this is not really their thing. Well, lie, right? This is just a blatant, flat-out, plain old-fashioned lie from Donald Trump. And now the FBI has come out and said, no, we never told anybody at the White House. We never told Donald Trump we didn't want to do this investigation. This is the kind of thing that we do. We did it with regard to Clarence Thomas and Anita Hill back in 1991. And, we can do it now. If all you have to do is just ask us. So Trump lying through his teeth once again, lying actually about his lying. It's bizarre. Steve in Brunswick, Georgia. Hey, Steve, you wanted to follow up on Greg Palast's segment on he's got the names of the over 100,000 people in Georgia who've been purged from the voting rolls by Brian Kemp, the guy who wants to be governor. You've got some more information on that?
Yeah. Hey, Tom. Brian Kemp released 6 million voter records in Georgia, and then he purged the server. He gave the names, addresses, telephone numbers, driver's license numbers, and the party that they voted for. My wife and I were concerned about that, and what we did was we called election headquarters to verify that we were registered to vote, and they did confirm it, although they used the old electronic voting machines that anybody can fix down here in Brunswick, and we're more concerned about that. But we did check with the election office to make sure that we were registered to vote, and they did confirm it.
Okay, good. Step by step. RockTheVote.com, by the way, has a tool for this as well. David in Shelton, Washington. Hey, David, what's on your mind?
Tom, it's a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you, David.
You know, I was listening to all these numbers about people being purged from the voting rolls. And how many Republicans with Hispanic or Asian names are being purged?
Well, there's probably not a lot of Republicans with Hispanic or Asian names, but those who are among those being purged. If Brian Kemp is doing this using Chris Kobach's crosscheck, it's designed to take out people who have common names, and that's principally Hispanics, African Americans, and Asians.
I see. Well, I just felt that they're targeting Democrats, and there have to be Republicans in the mix somewhere. I just was wondering how many Republicans were purged in all of it.
That's a good question, and I'm like I said, it'll be a minority of the people with those kinds of names, and they'll probably be the people who show up to vote and are given a provisional ballot and don't realize that it's a phony baloney ballot because they won't explain that to you on Fox News, and they'll think that they voted. And
doesn't that in itself prove some kind of a conspiracy that they're targeting certain people?
Obviously. Obviously. I mean, you don't need to know whether the Republicans are Democrats to know that they were purged because, if they have common last names. I mean, that's the whole basis. That's the basis of the entire argument that they're making. So spot on. Thanks for the call. John in Philly. Hey, John, what's up?
Hello, Tom. Thank you for doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
I wanted to circle back to Kavanaugh and the approach the Democrats are taking. I don't disagree at all with his past indiscretions being brought to light. But one thing I think there's an opportunity here, and it's his commitment to the religious interpretation of the law. And if we could get his interpretation between the Abrahamic and the Sharia law, because Fox News has been using that code word, dog whistle, to drum up the base.
Really?
But if you can catch
what are they
that,
saying?
Sharia law.
They're saying that Kavanaugh is going to
stop.
stop.
Law as a negative thing for a long time.
Right.
You can catch him using that as being his support of religion and his religious interpretation of law.
Interesting. Okay, I don't know the details on that, John, but if you've got anything, tweet it to me. I'll check it out. I do read my Twitter feed throughout the show and throughout the day. It's 27 minutes past the hour.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-808-9925.
Right back with more of your calls, more of the news of the day, and more of my thoughts on all of the above in just a few minutes. We've had a lot of fun being on Free Speech TV all these years. It's been, I think at least 9 or 10 years that we've been doing this program on Free Speech TV. I've been doing the show for 15 years. We started it in our living room or in my office in our home in Montpelier, Vermont, back in March of 2003. But, every now and then you get a reality check on how important Free Speech TV really is and how effective Free Speech TV is. Congressman Mark Pocan on this program, he was on today. He's on, every week doing what Bernie used to do. I mean, for 11 years, Bernie was here every single Friday for the first hour. Congressman Pocan every single Wednesday for the first hour. And Congressman Pocan, of course, is the vice chair or the co-chair, him and Raul Grijalva are the chairman of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, which is a pretty big deal. And he actually, on our program, talked about how, as a result of a call that he got from one of you, he wrote and introduced legislation to protect our voting. And Congressman Ro Khanna last week was on. He comes on every other week, more or less, and takes calls. And he said that wherever he goes in the country now, people are saying, hey, I saw you on Thom Hartmann's program, or I heard you on Thom Hartmann's program, or both. So, I mean, this is not to pat myself on the back. It's to say this television network has a reach. This television network is getting a message out. This television network is having an effect. If you want to affect the political future of this country, Make a contribution now to Free Speech TV. 877-378-8669 is the telephone number. It is necessary to keep this network going. We have not been hitting our goals. We need your help. 877-378-8669. Any amount is useful. We get a lot of small contributions, and they're really appreciated. And we get the occasional large one, and that's really appreciated. But whatever you can give, please help us keep this thing going. We want more of these success stories from members of Congress who have come on this program. With a $30 gift, you get the Free Speech TV mini kit. This is the, Vote November 11th sticker and the Vote Free Speech TV button. With a $72 gift, you get a copy of my book, We the People, A Call to Take Back America. It's a great illustrated book. It makes a great gift, right? We're heading toward the holiday season. Get a couple and give them to your friends, or your kids or your grandkids. It is suitable for children, say, over 10 or 12 years. It's pretty political, maybe 13, something like. There's no obscenity in it, but it's a serious book, even though it's a comic, but thick one. Anyway. A $120 gift, you get the Vote Free Speech TV T-shirt kit, which is the T-shirt plus the button plus the sticker. With a $240 gift, you get the Free Speech TV Vote Free Speech TV hoodie kit, which is the hoodie, the T-shirt and the hoodie made in the United States. So you get the hoodie and the button and the sticker. With a $360 gift, and all of these, the funny amounts. The reason it's $360 and $240 and like that is because you can divide it by 12. You can make 12 monthly payments or whatever you call it, charges to your credit card, donations of $30 each, and that equals $360 for the year. And then you get the hooded sweatshirt and the button and the sticker. With a $480 gift, that's the all of the above package. You get the T-shirt, the hoodie, my book, We the People, A Call to Take Back America, and the button and the sticker for $480. And with a $1,000 gift, come to Portland, Oregon, and have lunch with me. You saw on the screen, I believe it was yesterday, the people who dropped by on, was it Monday, as I recall? It was Monday? Oh, it was Friday. Friday Blessing. That's right, Friday. I don't do time well. Thank you, Shira. So last Friday, a bunch of people dropped by, but we put the video in our Monday pitch, and so you got to see the folks who came by. It's always interesting. It's always fascinating, in fact, to get to know people who are, who watch Free Speech TV and care enough to make a significant contribution. So whatever it may be, whatever you can afford, please call now, 877-378-8669. 877-378-8669, and make your contribution to keep this network going, a network that actually is having an impact. We're getting messages out, and it's not the kind of skewed, weird, partisan nonsense that you see on Fox so-called news. I'll call out Democrats as quickly as Republicans when they do poorly. And we cover a lot of stories that the corporate media is simply unwilling to cover. At the top of that list, things like voter suppression or net neutrality, the environment, global climate change, the pharma industry and the drug industries, all these things that mainstream media won't touch. Call now, 877-378-8669. Thank you.
Want to connect with the show online? You can find the Thom Hartmann Program on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
All aboard. It's a once-in-a-lifetime luxury Alaskan cruise on the Regent Seven Seas Mariner, July 24th, 2019. For more information, Keen Luxury Travel, 800-856-1155. And did I mention we'll be getting active on board with special events with yours truly, me and Louise, as we visit Ketchikan, Juneau, Skagway, Sitka, Hubbard Glacier, and Anchorage. Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. Oh, this is amazing. Florence has drowned 5,500 pigs and 3.5 million chickens. The hog waste lagoons are overflowing. You've got a nuclear power plant down there that has declared a state of emergency, although it's the lowest level of emergency. This is a serious storm. Trump is on his way down there for a photo op. God only knows how that's going to work out. It did really well in Puerto Rico, right? I mean, maybe he'll throw paper towels at people again. Who knows? Vertus in Greenville, Mississippi. Am I saying your name right?
Yes, sir.
Thanks for watching us on Free Speech TV. What's on your mind today?
I just got a couple of questions. How come Democrats don't have no judge that we can vote on? How come we always got to vote for a Republican judge?
Because not enough Democrats showed up to vote in the last few elections. I mean, I get 5 out of the last 6 elections, the majority who voted for president voted for Republicans, or excuse me, voted for Democrats. But we got a couple of Republican presidents anyway. Same thing in the Senate, same thing in the House. In the House of Representatives, if you were to take it as a national vote, the majority of people voted for a Democratic House, and the majority of Americans voted for a Democratic Senate. But because even little tiny red states like Wyoming get 2 senators, and Oklahoma and North and South Dakota, et cetera, you've got a majority. You've got the Republicans in the United States Senate who represent fewer than 30% of Americans. And you've got Republicans in the House of Representatives who represent fewer than 45% of Americans. And you've got a guy in the White House who represents a 3 million, or who was elected by 3 million fewer votes. You know, or Hillary Clinton won that election by 3 million votes, bottom line. And with that ability to control those bodies through gerrymandering, through voter suppression, and through the simple fact that a lot of people, particularly people under 35, 4 out of 5 people under 35 did not show up to vote in the last election. And that's why you've got Brett Kavanaugh there. If the Democrats controlled the Senate, or if the Democrats controlled the White House, well, if they controlled the White House, you would have a Democratic nominee. If they controlled the Senate, you'd have a more rational nominee because they would be able to control the process. Buck in San Clemente, California. Hey, Buck, what's on your mind today?
Hi, Tom. How you doing?
Good. What's up?
A couple of quick things. I just want to mention Frank Luntz. You know, he's the Republican pollster, and he's come up with, you know, everything from to death tax to changing global warming to climate change. And
yeah, he's an NLP master.
Yeah, he is, and he, as the years go by, it's definitely taken a toll. His lies and the stuff that he comes out of his mouth to lift up the Republican Party. And I just want to say, you are our Frank Luntz, but nobody knows it. You come up with the great ideas, great commentary, and I wish that there was an office in the Democratic line for you, man, because, you know, you just need to be there. You need to constantly tell these politicians, you know, what's right. So that's just my 2 cents right there.
Okay. Well, thank you, Buck. I think that we are having, and in fact, I know that we're having an impact. And a number of the things that I've been promoting over the years, particularly electronic voting machines and voter suppression, I think because of this program that got into Bernie Sanders' head, it's you know, Mark Pocan is the co-chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus. They're paying careful attention to this program and to our show, to our callers. A lot of the information isn't just coming from me, Buck. It's coming from people like you. It's coming from people calling in going, really? Albert in Los Angeles. Hey, Albert, what's on your mind today?
Hey, doing all right, Tom. Thanks for taking my call. I just want to comment. Mark Pocan was on earlier, and he said that socialism was a political subject. It's not. It's an economic subject. Communism, socialism, capitalism, they're all measures of distribution of resources, not you know, can I have an abortion or something like that? That's liberal conservative. And
right, but it's, you know, and I agree with you. I would have said it's both a political and an economic construct, because you're accomplishing those economic goals via political means.
Yeah, however you want to wrap it up, but political would be a liberal, conservative. I would like it, that's how I would describe that. But also, you had a caller on yesterday that was talking about taxes, and what people don't understand is taxes and government spending are the same thing. So if you cut one, you cut the other, and when you don't have enough taxes to cover government spending, you have what we call a deficit. So there's no new money being created when you cut taxes. It's the exact same money.
Yeah, and this is why the Republicans did this, is they will then use the deficit that they cynically created by borrowing $1.5 trillion from you and me and our children and grandchildren, and giving that money to the Koch brothers and the Robert Mercer and his wife, his daughter Rebecca, and Shelley Adelson and all the other billionaires who support the Republican agenda. By doing that, they created such a deficit. It's one of the largest deficits. In fact, I believe it's the largest deficit since World War II. They created this enormous deficit so that they can then come back to us after the elections, if they continue to hold control of the House and Senate, and say, because of this deficit, we have to cut Social Security. We have to cut Medicare. We have to cut Medicaid. We have to cut infrastructure spending. We have to cut aid to families with dependent children. We have to cut education support. We have to cut programs that support people who want to go to college and prevent them from getting ripped off by skeezy student loan organizations. They are going to cut all of these things that protect you and me, while they're going to keep intact the $300 billion a year subsidy for the fossil fuel industry. They're going to keep intact the multi-$100 billion a year subsidy for the military industrial complex and the weapons manufacturers. I mean, this is, and they're right up front about it, by the way. They're not hiding this. It's just broadly not being reported. So anyway, Lowell in Salem, Oregon. Hey, Lowell, what's on your mind?
Hi, Tom. I wanted to make sure, I called in earlier for Mark Pocan, but I wanted to make sure the Democrats got on their agenda repealing the Taft-Hartley Act. And I'm on the Oregon State Democratic Central Committee, and we get this on the platform every year. And somehow it never seems to filter to the national level. So do we need to just start mailing letters to, the leaders? Or, Nancy Pelosi already said she's going for pay-go, so it means we're not going to get any changes when we get in power. But how about if we do this? Because people are looking for sympathy strikes right now, because people are so fed up that they're actually striking, but it's all illegal right now because of Taft-Hartley.
Right. Yeah, I've been calling for rolling back Taft-Hartley since I began this program. Bernie is all over that and has said it many, many times. Mark Pocan has said it. The Progressive Caucus is in favor of rolling back Taft-Hartley. Harry Truman, of course, vetoed it twice, and twice the Republicans in that 2-year little window there when they controlled, the House and Senate, they were able to override his veto. But Taft-Hartley is an abomination. And I'm with you. I'm absolutely with you. I don't know where to go beyond that other than pointing it out as frequently as possible. If you want to get it on your legislators' radar screen, call their offices, 202-224-3121. Charles in Opelika, Florida. Hey, Charles, you're on the air.
Hey, hi. Good afternoon, Tom. How you doing?
Good. What's up?
Apologize about the noise on my work.
Charles, I can't hear you. You got me on a speakerphone. Can you undo that, please?
Okay. Is this better?
Only slightly.
Okay, this is my telephone. Is this better?
Yeah, Charles, we have a minute. What's up?
Okay, I was just calling about this Kavanaugh confirmation.
Yeah.
And I always seem the Republicans always pull out their props as far as these ministers like the Ralph Reed, the Billy Graham Jr.'s, and Pat Robertson, when, everything is going good for them. But why aren't they trying to be the moral leaders that they're supposed to be, or that they're claiming to be, and speak out to the Republicans?
Because they're not moral leaders. These guys are political hustlers. They get into religion to make money. Pat Robertson is worth over $1 billion now. Jerry Falwell. Most of these guys are multi-millionaires. Some of them flout it. You know, you had the one evangelist the other day who was on TV begging for money so he could buy a new private jet. These guys are not moral, and they're not a majority, and they don't lead. They're not moral majority leaders. They're hustlers. They're scam artists, and I think more and more Americans are realizing that these televangelists and the guys, I mean, you know, some of these universities like Bob Jones, their main mission back in the day was to avoid segregation, or to avoid integration, to maintain segregated schools. And that's where it all began, actually, which is one of the real ahas that you get from watching Reversing Roe, this new documentary on Netflix that's just breathtaking. Charles, thanks for the call. A little hard to hear you there, but, hopefully next time you'll actually use your phone. We'll be right back. It's 45 minutes past.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann. Visit thomhartmann.com for audio and video archives.
And if you want to call your member of Congress, 202-225-3121. Let them know your thoughts. As Mark Pocan pointed out, next week might be the last week they're in session until the election. And welcome back. David in Somerset, Pennsylvania, watching us on Free Speech TV. Hey, David, what's on your mind today?
I would like to know, I am for the Democrats, and I talk to the Republicans, and they look at me and say, well, you listen to MSNBC, and that's all lies. And I listen to Fox News, and they're all lies. And I'd like to know how to tell them to go to find the truth. Could you explain that?
Yeah, there are two websites that regularly vet these rumors, stories, memes, whatever. Snopes.com is one, and the other is the fact checker over at the Washington Post. There's another one that's run by a newspaper or a university out of one of the Carolinas, but it's not right at the tip of my head, the top of my mind. But you'll find a pretty exhaustive compendium at those two places. Also, MediaMatters.org does a really good job of keeping track of what's going on Fox News. And, I'm not sure that there is a website. There's the old FAIR organization that Brent Bozell started. Maybe it's called Media Research something or other, whatever it is, that they used to quote, keep track of liberal bias in the corporate media, in the liberal media. But I don't think that they're doing much anymore, and nobody's really taking them seriously. So I'd start with those organizations, David. And good luck. Let's see here. Vienna in Redding, California. Hey, Vienna, thanks for watching Free Speech. What's on your mind today?
Oh, hello, Tom. Thank you for taking my call. Last week on BBC, on the ticker under the news, I saw that Mr. Bezos is donating $1 billion for homelessness and education. And I was wondering, where's the money and who follows the money and how can we follow the money? And is it true?
I think that, from what I've heard, this is an attempt to salvage his image in Seattle where housing prices are so high. As a consequence of the explosion of tech, Amazon is a big piece of that, obviously Microsoft another piece of it, that homelessness has become a serious problem, even among the middle class. And people just can't find decent housing, and the consequence of that is that people who are working in Seattle are living in increasingly distant suburbs, which means that the commute has turned to hell, and the roads have turned to hell, and they need a public transportation system, which they don't have. And so Bezos is, trying to clean up the appearance of his act, is what I'm reading. I'm not a citizen of Seattle, so I don't know in depth, but my understanding is that that's broadly.
It
Pardon?
was bad back in the 80s. I said I used to live in Seattle, and it was bad back in the 80s, so I know it's worse now.
Yeah, it's a beautiful town, but the traffic is a mess, and housing is obscenely expensive. And the thing we have to remember is that at the same time he might be giving money to help with homelessness, he is right now shopping. The shopping venues, venue shopping. There's a fancier phrase for it. He's going around to cities around America saying, how many hundreds of millions of dollars in tax breaks will you give me to move part of my Amazon headquarters to your town? And so, some other city is going to be hit with, wipeout tax cuts for Amazon. It's just, it's a lousy business model to be doing this. And I agree with Bernie Sanders that any city that competes with any other city to drive down taxes to bring a company in should lose their federal highway funds. The entire state should. Vienna, thank you for the call. Excellent question. Bob Ney is up next. Free Speech TV is supported by your contributions, and I strongly encourage you during the pledge drives, or even not during the pledge drives, to call Free Speech TV at 877-378-8669 and make a contribution, support Free Speech TV. But that said, our program, the Thom Hartmann Program, what you're watching right now, is sustained by commercial advertising, and we're on commercial stations around the country. We run ads. They pay us for that. And one of the ways that you can support our program is by going to thomhartmann.com, our website, and clicking on the advertisements on that page for our sponsors and buying their products, supporting their products, or letting them know that you care about their products and that you support our show. That's thomhartmann.com, and click on the advertising there to support our program. We really appreciate it. We really appreciate your supporting Free Speech TV by your ongoing, calling and supporting the fundraising drives, and we also would really appreciate if you go to thomhartmann.com.
Want to connect with the show online? You can find the Thom Hartmann Program on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Let's check in with Talk Media News and find out what's going on in the world today. This report brought to you by goatsfortheoldgoat.com and Loving What You Do, Ellen Ratner's new book. On the line with us on Hybrid 2, Bob Ney with Talk Media News. Hey, Bob, Congressman Ney, the author of Sideswiped. What's going on, Bob?
Well, Tom, there's just tons going on. I know you've been talking a lot about Kavanaugh, but I did want to go to Jeff Sessions because the Attorney General, who must absolutely love to be, publicly thrashed by the president, because it happens all the time, what happened again. And the president has torn into Jeff Sessions in an interview. It's been published today. And he's going as far as to say, I don't have an Attorney General, although he appeared a little bit later to kind of backtrack a little bit on it. And he just says it's sad, and he just goes on again and again about Sessions, which we all know he's going to fire him election night or the next, morning.
Right.
For sure, he's gone. But I thought it was interesting because the president got in again about Sessions recusing himself from Hillary Clinton's issues, et cetera, et cetera. And then this is all turning on the heels of the fact that the president's going to release, through declassification, documents dealing with the Russia probe. Now, in themselves, the intelligence agencies, Tom, a lot, and we've looked at this in past probes, will say, interest of national security, we can't do this and that. And sometimes that turns out, again, to be something not of substance. They cry wolf on some of it. But it goes a little bit different direction, I think, because if, in fact, the president were to sit down with Mueller, which is not going to happen, but if, in fact, he did, wouldn't a question arise of, aren't you interfering in a current investigation by just declassifying documents dealing with that investigation?
I think this becomes one of the obstruction claims that you will see in an impeachment attempt. I mean, Richard Nixon was the articles of impeachment against him. I think the first one was obstruction of justice, and it was for a variation on this sort of thing.
I mean, it's very clear that declassifying these documents, these are documents involved, again, even if they don't have something of the interest of national security, they are documents involved in a probe, and they're being declassified. Now, we know why, because people will pick and choose, cherry pick through them of what they want, and then, the headlines will be generated and created, and it'll show something with an FBI agent or whatever, some things we've heard before, maybe some new things. But I just find it fascinating. And again, the way he hits Jeff Sessions obviously isn't going to come back and say anything to the effect of, why are you doing this? So I don't know. I've been trying to figure it out. Maybe you know, because you're a lot smarter than I am. What is the interest of Jeff Sessions to remain in this job as long as he has? I can't figure it.
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know the answer. I have been assuming up until this point that it's a matter of personal pride. that Jeff Sessions doesn't want to go down in history as the guy who quit or the guy who was fired. He thinks he's continuing to do his job. He's fighting the drug wars. He's prosecuting quote illegal immigrants, all that kind of stuff. I think he's just a very proud man, but I could be wrong.
No, it's possible. I just see it so much, and I just wonder how somebody has the ability to remain, working for someone that attacks them almost every week.
I don't think he cares anymore. I think Sessions is part of the crowd around Trump who are, like the guy who wrote the op-ed or the woman, whoever it was who wrote that op-ed, who feel that they're the rational voices in the administration and they need to stay there because Trump is irrational.
It's true.
But who knows?
Also, we were looking at an article today about Walmart. And Walmart, 2 weeks ago, it was found out, and we've got some information here in the press that Walmart asked directly the Trump administration to walk back its plan to put tariffs on Christmas lights, shampoo, dog food, luggage, mattresses, handbags, backpacks, et cetera, and they had written a letter to the trade rep, Robert Lighthizer, Lighthizer, and the company has said they want, obviously to not hurt the customers, but when you look at this, they have a decision to make. Walmart does. Are they going to raise prices, or are they going to take the hit? And I would assume they're in a bit of a bind business-wise, because if they raise prices, then although Walmart has cornered the market, obviously, so many things, but if they raise prices, then they have a problem of a competitive nature. But then again, they've got to satisfy the internal
Well, a lot of these items, these are things that are not made anywhere other than China. So Walmart's competitors are going to have to buy them on, based on tariffs too. I would guess that they're going to take a hit and that they're going to raise prices. That, if they've got a 10% tariff, they'll take a 5% loss and they'll raise prices 5%. And then over the next year or so, they'll raise the prices another 5% and recover that loss because nobody can compete with them anyway.
That's correct. So, again, trade war will continue. I don't see anything letting up on it. And then we watched also the South Korea story, which is fascinating. I've watched the approach over the years. I did support Bill Clinton in trying to deal with Kim Jong-un's father way back when. And we've watched things, go down. And it's interesting now because there's a significant deal made between North and South. And they say it's in the hands of D.C. Let's see what Trump does with it.
Yeah. This it could be a moment. It could be a great opportunity, or it could be a disaster. And with Donald Trump in the White House, God only knows. Thank you, Bob Ney.
Thank you. Okay.
Great talking with you today. Bob Ney, the author of Sideswiped, with TalkMediaNews.com. We'll be back. Stick around. We're going to be right back with Bill Press.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann.
We've had a lot of fun being on Free Speech TV all these years. It's been, I think at least 9 or 10 years that we've been doing this program on Free Speech TV. I've been doing the show for 15 years. We started it in our living room or in my office in our home in Montpelier, Vermont, back in March of 2003. But, every now and then you get a reality check on how important Free Speech TV really is and how effective Free Speech TV is. Congressman Mark Pocan on this program, he was on today. He's on, every week. doing what Bernie used to do. I mean, for 11 years, Bernie was here every single Friday for the first hour. Congressman Pocan every single Wednesday for the first hour. And Congressman Pocan, of course, is the vice chair of the, or the co-chair, excuse me, him and Raul Grijalva are the chairman of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, which is a pretty big deal. And he actually, on our program, talked about how, as a result of a call that he got from one of you, he wrote and introduced legislation to protect our voting. And Congressman Ro Khanna last week was on. He comes on every other week, more or less, and takes calls. And he said that wherever he goes in the country now, people are saying, hey, I saw you on Thom Hartmann's program, or I heard you on Thom Hartmann's program, or both. So, I mean, this is not to pat myself on the back. It's to say this television network has a reach. This television network is getting a message out. This television network is having an effect. If you want to affect the political future of this country, make a contribution now to Free Speech TV. 877-378-8669 is the telephone number. It is necessary to keep this network going. We have not been hitting our goals. We need your help. 877-378-8669. Any amount is useful. We get a lot of small contributions, and they're really appreciated. And we get the occasional large one, and that's really appreciated. But whatever you can give, please help us keep this thing going. We want more of these success stories from members of Congress who have come on this program. With a $30 gift, you get the Free Speech TV mini kit. This is the, Vote November 11th sticker and the Vote Free Speech TV button. With a $72 gift, you get a copy of my book, We the People, A Call to Take Back America. It's a great illustrated book. It makes a great gift, right? We're heading toward the holiday season. Get a couple and give them to your friends, or your kids or your grandkids. It is suitable for children, say, over 10 or 12 years old. It's pretty political, maybe 13, something like. There's no obscenity in it, but it's a serious book, even though it's a comic, but thick one. Anyway. A $120 gift, you get the Vote Free Speech TV T-shirt kit, which is the T-shirt plus the button plus the sticker. With a $240 gift, you get the Free Speech TV Vote Free Speech TV hoodie kit, which is the hoodie, the T-shirt and the hoodie made in the United States. So you get the hoodie and the button and the sticker. With a $360 gift, and all of these, the funny amounts. The reason it's $360 and $240 and like that is because you can divide it by 12. You can make 12 monthly payments or whatever you call it, charges to your credit card, donations of $30 each, and that equals $360 for the year. And then you get the hooded sweatshirt and the button and the sticker. With a $480 gift, that's the all of the above package. You get the T-shirt, the hoodie, my book, We the People, A Call to Take Back America, and the button and the sticker for $480. And with a $1,000 gift, come to Portland, Oregon, and have lunch with me. You saw on the screen, I believe it was yesterday, the people who dropped by on, was it Monday, as I recall? It was Monday? Oh, it was Friday. Friday, bless it. That's right, Friday. I don't do time well. Thank you, Shira. So last Friday, a bunch of people dropped by, but we put the video in our Monday pitch, and so you got to see the folks who came by. It's always interesting. It's always fascinating, in fact, to get to know people who are, who watch Free Speech TV and care enough to make a significant contribution. So whatever it may be, whatever you can afford, please call now, 877-378-8669. 877-378-8669, and make your contribution to keep this network going, a network that actually is having an impact. We're getting messages out, and it's not the kind of skewed, weird, partisan nonsense that you see on Fox so-called news. I'll call out Democrats as quickly as Republicans when they do poorly. and and we cover a lot of stories that the corporate media is simply unwilling to cover. At the top of that list, things like voter suppression or net neutrality, the environment, global climate change, the pharma industry and the drug industries, all these things that mainstream media won't touch. Call now, 877-378-8669. Thank you. Free Speech TV is supported by your contributions, and I strongly encourage you during the pledge drives, or even not during the pledge drives, to call Free Speech TV at 877-378-8669 and make a contribution, support Free Speech TV. But that said, our program, the Thom Hartmann Program, what you're watching right now, is sustained by commercial advertising, and we're on commercial stations around the country. We run ads. They pay us for that. And one of the ways that you can support our program is by going to thomhartmann.com, our website, and clicking on the advertisements on that page for our sponsors and buying their products, supporting their products, or letting them know that you care about their products and that you support our show. That's thomhartmann.com, and click on the advertising there to support our program. We really appreciate it. We really appreciate your supporting Free Speech TV by your ongoing, calling and supporting the fundraising drives, and we also would really appreciate if you go to thomhartmann.com.
Want to connect with the show online? You can find the Thom Hartmann Program on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Welcome back. On the line with us is our old friend Bill Press, the host of the Bill Press Show, nationally syndicated on radio and TV. Free Speech TV, Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. He's a columnist with the Hill newspaper. He's the author of several books, including Bush Must Go, and now the sequel, Trump Must Go. BillPressShow.com is his website. You can tweet him at BP Show. Bill, welcome back.
Hey, Tom, how are you? Good to talk to you. Yes, indeed. I always said not enough people read my book, Bush Must Go. So let's hope we can do better with Trump Must Go, right?
Well, and hopefully you're prescient because, he must go. And I hope all is well with you and Carol. And it's great to hear your voice. It's been too long since we've talked.
It has indeed, and we miss you and Louise here in Washington, D.C., so best to you both.
Thank you, Bill. So Trump must go. What, you've got this organized into chapters, which are kind of categories, bucket categories of things that he's done, and what's going on. But rather than doing it chronologically or categorically, let's rank these by criticality, by importance. What do you see as the main reasons why Trump must go? And then, the follow-up question would be, what do you see as the most practical ways to get him out?
All right, good questions. It's the how, when, and why, right? But on the why, you know what I think? And I start with this. You and I, we are policy people. We're policy nerds, right? We really get into domestic policy, foreign policy. That's our specialty. And that's what we look at any president. I mean, whether it's George W. Bush or Barack Obama. But with Donald Trump, I think you got to start with something else, which is Donald Trump, the person, just the obnoxious person that he is. And that's where I start. And I think that's where the American people have their most serious problems with Donald Trump. I mean, you may disagree with his policies, but this man as a person has proven he's a racist, he's a sexist, he's a self-proclaimed sexual predator, he's a pathological liar. You could go down the list, and just, I believe, unfit, unworthy of the office of President of the United States, and it's proven to be so. He's certainly not a person anymore that parents can say to their kids, here's your role model, right? You want to grow up and be like the President of the United States, whether he's Republican or Democrat. I remember as a young man in California how thrilled I was just to go out. I was taken by a friend of mine to see Air Force One sitting on the tarmac, right? It was Jerry Ford at the time. But who cares, right? He's the President of the United States. No matter, you looked up to him. He was your ideal, if you will, citizenship. And it's certainly not the case with Donald Trump. So having established that, then I look at his war on the environment. his war on immigrants, his war on our closest allies while he's cozying up to all the dictators of the world, and kind of walk through, hey, Tom, as you can imagine, the tough part was limiting it to 100.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, so starting out here, Bill, starting out of the gate, you know, Trump is small, petty, mean, nasty, a liar, a grifter, and people are starting to figure this out, and not a particularly deep thinker. He's a hustler. I mean, he got where he is by basically, you know, the Lucky Sperm Club, you know, his daddy giving him his money. But let's move into policy. What are the policies that Trump has been pursuing that might change under Mike Pence, or definitely would change if we had a Democrat?
Well, I think two of the most dangerous, and you know, part of the problem here that we all have dealing with this is that we lose track of the impact of some of these policies. I really do think he's done enough damage already in 18 months or 19 months. It'll take us decades to recover, and I'm not exaggerating. And we don't focus on them enough because, you know, we get focused on his damn tweets every day, right? He sends us off on these wild tangents, but not that the stuff he says isn't worth commenting on. But, for example, you know, the Paris Climate Accords, I think that is hugely... Look what's going on now with Hurricane Florence and Hurricane Maria last year and all the rest. And what are we doing? He's rolling back the clock on climate change in Paris, rolling back the clock on the new power plant rules that have been adopted under Obama, and on the new car emissions, which the CAFE standards have been approved by the auto industry to get 55 miles an hour by whatever it is, 2025 or 2050, whatever it is, right? But you know, he's just wiped them out.
Yeah.
Huge impact. I think the second one is the Iran nuclear deal. I mean, this was put together, as you know, by 7 nations, including the United States and Iran. He did what he said he wanted North Korea to do, which was, and North Korea hasn't done, totally put aside their nuclear weapons program for at least 15 years, saving the world from that threat of Iran becoming the next member of the nuclear club. And because Obama did it, Trump just wiped it out. Right. Now, Iran, so far as we know, hasn't gone back to making nuclear weapons, but he's given them the green light to do so. So, I mean, those are just two that pop right in. And plus, I think his whole immigration policy has been so cruel, so mean, and so, you know, un-American. The zero tolerance policy, getting rid of the Dreamers program, which was a hugely successful program, and getting rid of the temporary protected status program for people from the Caribbean and from Central America.
Right.
You know, across the board. I mean, the real damage that he has done, which I wanted to document here as a first step. You know, way back, Thomas Jefferson, when he wrote the Declaration of Independence, his last lines of preface is, "Let the facts be submitted to a candid world," right? About why we have to overthrow George III.
Right.
Here are the facts submitted to a candid world about why we get rid of Donald Trump.
Well done. Now, the mechanism by which, in all probability, we will get rid of him will either be at the ballot box in 2 years, 2 years and a couple of months, or through an impeachment process.
Back in the 80s.
The ballot box would purge us of Pence as well, which, you know, good riddance in my mind. He's as skeezy a right winger as Trump is pretending to be, but the impeachment proceeding would make Mike Pence president. Do you think that Pence has been? We haven't even discussed here Trump's coming into power with the help of a foreign power, with Russia, and God only knows who else. You know, Russia, Israel clearly played a role in this as well, but you know, not in the perfidious way necessarily that Russia did, but more in the kind of classic way of you know, funding people through and positions and whatnot. But I'm guessing that, you know, the Saudis probably were involved there. You know, I mean, Citizens United is, you know, there's no more limits on foreign governments interfering in our elections. So is it possible that Pence is up to his eyeballs in this? He was in charge of the presidential transition. He was involved with Manafort in the campaign. Is it possible that he's so far up to his eyeballs in this that that an impeachment could be a twofer?
I don't know that. I'm not even sure that the process, I guess, would allow for that. Right? It would be the first for sure. But you are absolutely right. Mike Pence is a total partner of Donald Trump. He is 100% on board. I think he knows maybe not every tweet that Donald Trump's going to do, but he is right in lockstep with Donald Trump every bit. That's why I have 100 reasons to dump Trump and one to keep him, because I do think Mike Pence, because, as you say, he pretends to be this reasonable guy when he's really he's a true believer, a real extreme right-winger, and I think could be more effective in getting things done in Donald Trump. But I want to come back to how we get rid of him. Look, in a sense, it's above my pay grade.
My understanding is that that's
he could face criminal charges by Robert Mueller. He could be impeached. He could be forced to resign because to save his family members. It could be
it's a beautiful town, but the
above.
traffic is a mess, and housing is obscenely expensive. And the thing we have to remember is that at the same time, he might.
If Democrats can take back the House, that puts a huge roadblock in the way of Donald Trump, at least on policy, on the legislation. And if Democrats can take back the Senate, that puts an additional roadblock, particularly on judges, those district court judges, appellate court judges, and, God forbid, another Supreme Court appointment.
Right. So it's time to make sure that your registration is intact and that you're not one of those millions who got bumped off the voter rolls by Chris Kobach and company. We just learned in Georgia over 100,000 registered Democrats removed from the polls. Greg Pallas reporting that this morning. It's incredible. Bill, thank you.
All right. Hey, Tom, great to join you. Trump must go.
Yeah, amen. Thanks, Bill Press. The Bill Press Show. BillPressShow.com is the website. The new book, Trump Must Go.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
We'll be back with more of the news of the day and your calls right after this. It's 16 minutes past the hour. And welcome back. Judy in Hot Springs, Arkansas. Hey, Judy, thanks for watching us on Free Speech TV. What's on your mind today?
Thank you, Tom. I've been listening for a very long time and just haven't called for a while. But, excuse me, I was prompted today because you've had multiple callers in with misconceptions about the tax cut and, who think they're doing better by it. As a professional, we don't even know how it's going to shake out until we do tax returns next year. But you had a caller today that said something about, well, they're doubling the standard, which is not entirely true. Like the for 2017 tax year, the standard deduction for married filing joint was $12,700. They're doubling it to $24,000
back in the 80s.
So, but they're also eliminating the personal exemption at $4,000.
Yeah, it's a beautiful town, but the traffic is a mess, and housing is obscenely expensive.
And the household.
The thing we have to remember is so they're kind of giving with one hand and taking away with the other.
Well, yeah, and it'll work to the benefit of a few, like a single person that has no children. They also you need to remind them that that is temporary,
right?
Scheduled to go away. But at this point, we don't know if the takeaways are going to return or they're going to stay taken away, like they did in 1986, with all the loss of itemized deductions. And the medical deduction,
my understanding
they rolled it back. It was supposed to go to 10%. The amount
I said I used to live
amount
in
exceeding 10% of your adjusted
so I know
gross.
it's worse now.
Yeah, it's a beautiful town, but the traffic is a mess, and housing is obscenely expensive.
But they decided to extend it.
The thing we have to remember is that at the same time he might
2018 the 7.5% and put off the 10% until 2019 after the election, of course. So, and also the, and you already know this because you've mentioned it numerous times, the state and local income tax deduction is going to harm people that work more than anything else. Most of the returns I do around here are for retirees. And I'm going to put a plug in for the IRS's VITA program that's entering its 50th year that offers free tax returns. They partner with nonprofits nationwide, and we do tax returns for nothing. I've been volunteering for 11 years.
Wow.
And this will be my 12th. We have people that have been volunteering for 20 years.
How do people find this? How do people find this, Judy?
They can go to irs.gov and look up the VITA, V-I-T-A, Volunteer Income Tax Assistance.
That's great.
Also, I volunteer through AARP, and it's on their website as well. I promote it here because I also do the driver safety instruction, so I promote it to people. And we get people that have been coming back for years. So, excuse me, I'm having a throat problem here.
It's quite all right, Judy.
Anyway.
It's a lot of great information.
Yeah, people really need to check that out. We get people coming in that they want. I had a lady that they charged her $400.
Yeah, I'm still listening.
Oh, okay. They charged her $400 to do a simple tax return. We did it for nothing.
That's great.
That's just insane.
So go to irs.gov and check out VITA. Judy, thank you. Thanks for the information, and thank you especially for that. That's great, and good on you for being a volunteer all these years. It's 20 minutes past the hour. We'll be right back. Free Speech TV is supported by your contributions, and I strongly encourage you during the pledge drives, or even not during the pledge drives, to call Free Speech TV at 877-378-8669 and make a contribution, support Free Speech TV. But that said, our program, the Thom Hartmann Program, what you're watching right now, is sustained by commercial advertising, and we're on commercial stations around the country. We run ads. They pay us for that. And one of the ways that you can support our program is by going to thomhartmann.com, our website, and clicking on the advertisements on that page for our sponsors and buying their products, supporting their products, or letting them know that you care about their products and that you support our show. That's thomhartmann.com, and click on the advertising there to support our program. We really appreciate it. We really appreciate your supporting Free Speech TV by your ongoing, calling and supporting the fundraising drives, and we also would really appreciate if you go to thomhartmann.com.
Want to connect with the show online? You can find the Thom Hartmann Program on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. And let's pick up some phone calls here, see what's going on your end of the world. Belinda in Detroit, Michigan. Hey, Belinda, thanks for listening to us on SiriusXM. What's on your mind today?
Hi. I wanted to say you had expressed earlier that you didn't understand why Jefferson Sessions was continuing in his position. My take from it is that he has always been a segregationist, therefore a racist, and he has
Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you.
In his
and let's pick up some phone calls here, see what's going on your end of the world. Belinda in Detroit, Michigan. Hey, Belinda, thanks for listening to us on SiriusXM. What's on your mind today?
Prison reform. Hi. I wanted to say you had expressed earlier the civil rights bills and efforts that he has pushed back on the back burner. So he's doing what he wants to do, and when Trump cans him, he will feel as though he has done his job.
I agree with you. I would add the war on drugs to that, which Richard Nixon put in place specifically to take out I think the phrase that Haldeman used was the blacks and the hippies. The people seeking civil rights and the people seeking to end the war in Vietnam. I absolutely agree with you, Belinda. Thank you very much for the call. Spot on. Colleen in Vanderbilt, Michigan. Hey, Colleen, what's on your mind?
Hi, I just want to say that I heard this morning on the 700 Club that Billy Graham's son said that he did not feel that people should be responsible for what they did in high school, and they were talking about, of course, the Kavanaugh appointment.
Well, I love this quote from Lauren Duca, D-U-C-A. She tweeted this yesterday. She said, "It seems to me that when Brett Kavanaugh attempted to deny a 17-year-old immigrant an abortion," you'll recall that. This is a girl held in ICE detention facilities. She organized the abortion and everything. It says that it seems to me that when Brett Kavanaugh attempted to deny a 17-year-old immigrant an abortion, he believed that the decisions you make as a minor ought to have lifelong consequences. Let's treat him the same way. And I completely agree with that. So,
and well, Billy Graham's son doesn't think so, and they quoted him on the 700 Club, and lots of Pat Robertson said that never has a president been so embraced by the evangelicals, and a lot of the other church shows that are on up north, they say this is a paid advertisement. I don't know why they don't say that on the 700 Club when they're constantly,
Yeah, because they don't have to. But you're right. They're shilling for Donald Trump because Donald Trump has promised to give them what they want, which is doing away with the Johnson Amendment, which says that if as a church they do politics, they lose their tax-exempt status. And that's the holy grail for them, that plus the end of abortion, which is what Kavanaugh has already promised he's going to do. He's going to overturn Roe v. Wade. And there you go. Colleen, thank you for the call. Thanks for the heads up. That's, grim news, but not surprising. George in Chicago. Hey, George, thanks for listening to WCPT. We got a minute to the break. You got to make it a quick one?
Yeah. I took your advice and called my congressmen and senators about this, plus the Democratic leadership, Congressman Pocan and Bernie Sanders. Your show has taught us that the Republicans will stop at nothing to screw with our voting processes, and I don't doubt that they will try to use the natural disasters in North and South Carolina to do just that. I think the national Democratic leadership and every Democratic office holder and state chairman, county committeeman, precinct committeeman should all be hyper aware of which areas in North and South Carolina have their power and their roads restored first. If it looks like the white Republican areas are being restored and the black, brown, and Democratic areas are not, they should raise holy hell about this. They're talking about weeks before the power is restored fully in these states. Electronic voting machines need power to run, and I would not doubt for one instant that the Republican governments in these two states will use the natural disaster to their advantage if they can get away with it.
Yeah, and and we know that they've already been doing voter purges, and that for decades they've been making sure that black and brown districts have the least functional, most dysfunctional, broken voting machines and like that. So yeah, spot on. Thanks a lot for the call, George. Well said. We'll be back. It is 27 minutes past the hour here on the Thom Hartmann Program. Yeah, when Brett Kavanaugh attempted to deny a 17-year-old immigrant abortion, he believed that the decisions you make as a minor ought to have lifelong consequences. Amen.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-808-9925.
Oh, and I've got some fascinating news about my Senator, Jeff Merkley, that I'll tell you right after the break. We've had a lot of fun being on Free Speech TV all these years. It's been, I think at least 9 or 10 years that we've been doing this program on Free Speech TV. I've been doing the show for 15 years. We started it in our living room or in my office in our home in Montpelier, Vermont, back in March of 2003. But, every now and then you get a reality check on how important Free Speech TV really is and how effective Free Speech TV is. Congressman Mark Pocan on this program, he was on today. He's on, every week doing what Bernie used to do. I mean, for 11 years, Bernie was here every single Friday for the first hour. Congressman Pocan every single Wednesday for the first hour. And Congressman Pocan, of course, is the vice chair of the co-chair, him and Raul Grijalva are the chairman of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, which is a pretty big deal. And he actually, on our program, talked about how, as a result of a call that he got from one of you, he wrote and introduced legislation to protect our voting. And Congressman Ro Khanna last week was on. He comes on every other week, more or less, and takes calls. And he said that wherever he goes in the country now, people are saying, hey, I saw you on Thom Hartmann's program, or I heard you on Thom Hartmann's program, or both. So, I mean, this is not to pat myself on the back. It's to say this television network has a reach. This television network is getting a message out. This television network is having an effect. If you want to affect the political future of this country, make a contribution now to Free Speech TV. 877-378-8669 is the telephone number. It is necessary to keep this network going. We have not been hitting our goals. We need your help. 877-378-8669. Any amount is useful. We get a lot of small contributions, and they're really appreciated. And we get the occasional large one, and that's really appreciated. But whatever you can give, please help us keep this thing going. We want more of these success stories from members of Congress who have come on this program. With a $30 gift, you get the Free Speech TV mini kit. This is the, Vote November 11th sticker and the Vote Free Speech TV button. With a $72 gift, you get a copy of my book, We the People, A Call to Take Back America. It's a great illustrated book. It makes a great gift, right? We're heading toward the holiday season. Get a couple and give them to your friends, or your kids or your grandkids. It is suitable for children, say, over 10 or 12 years. It's pretty political, maybe 13, something like. There's no obscenity in it, but it's a serious book, even though it's a comic. A thick one, anyway, a $120 gift, you get the Vote Free Speech TV t-shirt kit, which is the t-shirt plus the button plus the sticker. With a $240 gift, you get the Free Speech TV Vote Free Speech TV hoodie kit, which is the hoodie, the t-shirt and the hoodie made in the United States. So you get the hoodie and the button and the sticker. With a $360 gift, and all of these, the funny amounts, the reason it's $360 and $240 and like that is because you can divide it by 12. You can make 12 monthly payments or whatever you call it, charges to your credit card, donations of $30 each, and that equals $360 for the year. And then you get the hooded sweatshirt and the button and the sticker. With a $480 gift, that's the all of the above package. You get the t-shirt, the hoodie, my book, We the People, A Call to Take Back America, and the button and the sticker for $480. And with a $1,000 gift, come to Portland, Oregon, and have lunch with me. You saw on the screen, I believe it was yesterday, the people who dropped by on, was it Monday, as I recall? It was Monday? Oh, it was Friday. Friday Blessing. That's right. Friday. I don't do time well. Thank you, Shira. So last Friday, a bunch of people dropped by, but we put the video in our Monday pitch, and so you got to see the folks who came by. It's always interesting. It's always fascinating, in fact, to get to know people who are, who watch Free Speech TV and care enough to make a significant contribution. So whatever it may be, whatever you can afford. Please call now, 877-378-8669, 877-378-8669, and make your contribution to keep this network going, a network that actually is having an impact. We're getting messages out, and it's not the kind of skewed, weird, partisan nonsense that you see on Fox so-called news. I'll call out Democrats as quickly as Republicans when they do poorly. And we cover a lot of stories that the corporate media is simply unwilling to cover. At the top of that list, things like voter suppression or net neutrality, the environment, global climate change, the pharma industry and the drug industries, all these things that mainstream media won't touch. Call now, 877-378-8669. Thank you.
Want to connect with the show online? You can find the Thom Hartmann Program on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Free Speech TV is supported by your contributions, and I strongly encourage you during the pledge drives, or even not during the pledge drives, to call Free Speech TV at 877-378-8669 and make a contribution, support Free Speech TV. But that said, our program, the Thom Hartmann Program, what you're watching right now, is sustained by commercial advertising, and we're on commercial stations around the country. We run ads. They pay us for that. And one of the ways that you can support our program is by going to thomhartmann.com, our website, and clicking on the advertisements on that page for our sponsors and buying their products, supporting their products, or letting them know that you care about their products and that you support our show. That's thomhartmann.com, and click on the advertising there to support our program. We really appreciate it. We really appreciate your supporting Free Speech TV by your ongoing, calling and supporting the fundraising drives, and we also would really appreciate if you go to thomhartmann.com. Welcome back. Michael Moore's movie Fahrenheit 11/9 coming out this Friday. He and I will also be on Bill Maher's show on Friday, and I'm sure he'll be talking about his movie. And a good thing it is. It looks like it's just going to be a totally amazing thing. In the meantime, Senator Jeff Merkley. Jeff Merkley is just an amazing guy. He's, he came to the Senate when I was here in Oregon back a decade ago, doing both my national show, this program, and a local show. He was on the show many, many times. He's been on this show many times. In fact, the last time was just a week ago. He's a good guy. I think of Jeff Merkley the way I think of Jimmy Carter, as somebody who has a principled core, who is grounded in his worldview and his understanding, as a genuine and decent humanitarian. That's how I think of Jeff Merkley. He's, in addition to being a kick-ass politician, he knows how to do politics really well, but he also is, just one of those rare, decent human beings that you find in the political world. And the old joke is that Washington D.C. politics is Hollywood for ugly people. Not to say that any particular politicians are ugly, but the point being that in Hollywood there are some really decent actors, and then there are some people that are just complete SOBs. And the same is true in politics. And Jeff Merkley is one of those really decent people. And he has now opened offices in Iowa and New Hampshire, ostensibly to help candidates who are running in this year's congressional elections, according to NBC News. But I'm wondering if this is the opening toe in the water of, should I run for president? And if so, Senator Merkley, please do. I will do. I would, put me at the front of the line to support you. I think that I think Jeff Merkley is great. And he's young. I really think this is, he's still 2 years to go. But anyhow, we'll get there. Patty in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Hey, Patty, what's on your mind today?
Hey, Tom. Kavanaugh's confirmation would be a signal to all teen boys that they can do anything and get away with it because they'll never be held accountable.
That's a good point.
Yeah, and, seems like women are always responsible for men's lack of self-control because it's right out of the Bible. Yeah,
and this would be on top of Donald Trump ratifying that kind of behavior for every teenage boy in America, in that Billy Bush segment that was on Access Hollywood.
Exactly.
Telling us all how entitled he is. Patty, thank you for the call. Spot on. Jeff in Portland, Oregon. Hey, Jeff, thanks for listening to X-Ray FM. What's on your mind?
Hey, thanks for taking my call, Tom, and I second your opinion of Senator Merkley. We're lucky to have him. So
agreed.
And when I called you last week, I talked about stopping Kavanaugh and the Democratic Party's prospects in the midterms, and I talked about them as two separate things. But I would say since then, Tom, the two have become intertwined, and the Democrats have nothing to lose and everything to gain by going all in to defend Dr. Ford's right to due process, including an independent FBI investigation before a fair hearing. And
I completely agree.
Not only is it the right thing to do, but I believe it will benefit the Democrats at the ballot box in November. And secondly, Tom, I think it's going to be fascinating seeing you and Michael on Bill Maher this Friday. Both you and Michael Moore have talked often about the comparisons between now and the 1930s and the challenges we face. And you like to play that. You haven't played it in a while, but you play the FDR speech from '36 where he warns the nation about the oligarchs and their push to turn over Social Security and all the New Deal programs over to them. In other words, to privatize everything. And unfortunately, that's precisely what's happened for the last 38 years. And I hope you'll take that message on to Bill's show. And we need a Green New Deal, and we need the Democrats to stand strong as FDR did and campaign on just that.
Oh man! In fact, here, just for you, Jeff, let me share this.
Never before in all our history have these forces been so united against one candidate as they stand today. They are unanimous in their hate for me, and I welcome their hatred.
There you go. And people just absolutely loved it. So there you go, Jeff. Hopefully we made your day.
Yeah, that's great, Tom. And yeah, I mean, the Democrats tend to be have a history of being conflict averse, and they just need to, follow in the great tradition of FDR and not back down from these bullies on the Republican side.
Grow a spine. I'm with you. Jeff, thank you for the call, and thanks for listening to us here in Portland on X-Ray FM. David in Santa Fe. Hey, David, what's on your mind today?
Hey, Tom. A couple of years since I've called. I'll be succinct. I'd like you to comment on the fact that I'm pretty sure it's a fact that when the current so-called president went to Puerto Rico, he didn't have a big panel at a big press conference and senators and policemen and everybody and talk about how much money he was going to give them, and it was unlimited. And he didn't throw any paper towels in the Carolinas. Would you comment on that?
Well, I haven't seen the coverage of his visit to the Carolinas yet.
That was this morning.
Yeah, I know. He's down there.
This morning, yeah, he wasn't throwing paper towels. In Puerto Rico, he dropped in on a plane, threw some paper towels,
right,
had a couple of photo ops, and left.
Whereas in North Carolina, they're handling it like a professional operation?
Yes. Yeah. Would you comment on that, Tom?
Well, I think the reality of it just kind of stands alone. This guy has no class. He has no interest in governing. Everything is transactional. How can he help out one of his buddies? How can he help out one of the factions that'll help keep him in power? Help get Republicans elected. How can he help out his billionaire buddies like Rupert Murdoch and the Koch brothers? That's his entire agenda, and he doesn't give a damn about average working people or people who, particularly, he doesn't give a damn about people in Puerto Rico because they've got darker skin than he does, and many of them speak Spanish, and even though they're American citizens.
And it's an island, they can,
there's very much a let them eat cake going on here. David, excellent points all. Thank you very much for the call. Mark in Westland, Michigan. Hey, Mark, what's up?
Hey, how you doing today? My comment today is about the Republicans wanting to get rid of Social Security. Back in the late 90s in Chicago, the temperature got really hot, and I think it was like 780 old people died of exposure. And then the mayor was in big trouble. I talked to a refrigerator driver, and they were taking the bodies that didn't get claimed, and they put them on those trucks and took them to different colleges because stuff like that. Wow. Now, if the Republicans get rid of Social Security, what are these old people going to do? Because some will probably live with their children, but the rest will live on the street. Let's say the temperature drops down below 4 below zero. They're going to kill a lot of people. And I wish somebody out there, when they confront these Republicans, ask them that question. What are you going to do with these people who have nothing? Are you just going to kill masses?
Well, and this is one of the reasons why FDR was so aggressive about pushing through Social Security in 1935 was because one of the leading causes of death among elderly people was exposure. In both the winter and the summer. Air conditioning wasn't widely spread back then, but certainly heat was.
Right. Yeah.
So.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent and frankly, a very important point. Thank you for calling and making it, Mark.
Yeah.
Bob in Minnesota. Hey, Bob, what's on your mind today?
Well, I'd like to talk to you about everybody seemed to give up on the GMOs, the amount of poison that's going in. I'm going to say poison because that's what it is to me. Mm-hmm. And I have a song on the YouTube called "Take a Stand," and it's about I'm a Vietnam vet first of all, and I've been exposed with other chemicals throughout my life, mm-hmm. and I'm suffering from it now. And the food is very important to me. And now that I realize what's going on in our food, I was wondering how come all our politicians don't bring that up at all. I've been on CNN about this, and I said that can change our body chemistry when you can't get your nourishment. Mm-hmm. And nobody seems to adjust that that can affect our children in school and the shootings in school, what's going on, because the children's body chemistry is not correct. And
I think it affects everything, Bob.
That.
Spot on. I think it affects everything. We know, for example, right now, that if you look at the nutrient profile of vegetables grown in the United States, the exception of this is organic, but if you look at the profile of vegetables grown in the United States right now, they have about half the level of nutrients, particularly the minerals, things like calcium. They have about half the level of nutrients that they had in the 1960s. And this is purely the result of the proliferation of factory farming and the use of these till-based and pesticide-based and herbicide-based intensive agricultural practices, and the use of genetically modified organisms that can grow in crappy soil, and with enormous amounts of herbicides like Roundup. So spot on. And for me, Roundup is poison too. It screws with my digestive system. And I believe that's why I can no longer eat wheat, because they're spraying Roundup on it. So, Bob, thank you for the call. it's an important issue. It does deserve more attention, but again, the corporate media is not going to talk about it because the food industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann. Visit ThomHartmann.com for audio and video archive.
And if you're the big television network, you don't mess with multi-billion-dollar industries because they bite back. We'll be right back. And welcome back. I see we've got a whole bunch of calls on the line, but none of them are Free Speech TV calls yet. So let me just share a story with you. This is by Ron Nixon. It's in today's New York Times. And it's titled, U.S. Loses Track of Another 1,500 Migrant Children. Another 1,500. And that's on top of an additional 1,475 that they lost track of. Last year, now these are not kids who are still in federal custody. These are kids that the feds took away from their parents, immigrant parents or refugee parents. They took these children away and they placed them in foster homes, in individual homes. And at that point, the Department of Health and Human Services says, we are not legally responsible for children after they are released from the custody of the Office of Refugee Settlement. So here we have roughly 11,200 children this year, just in 2018, which is, we're just, 9 months into this year. In the first 9 months of this year, 11,254 children were removed from their families and placed with foster parents this year, or so-called sponsors. Of that 11,000, they have lost track of 1,500 of them. And the concern that people have, and this is a substantial concern, this is in the 4th paragraph of this article in today's New York Times, raise concerns that they could end up with human traffickers or being used as laborers by people posing as relatives. I mean, this is just mind-boggling that we've got you know, I mean, you look at the, what was the pizzeria, Comet Pizza, I think it was, in Washington, D.C. There was this rumor that Hillary Clinton was running a child sex ring out of there and kids were being smuggled through. And the whole right wing just exploded. Oh, my God, we've got to protect the children. And a guy shows up with a gun and shoots it into the ceiling going, how do I get in the basement? And they're like, there is no basement here. We're built on a slab. No, I know there's kids in the basement. I know that they're going to be trafficked out. No, there's no basement. They got very, very upset about a couple of kids that they thought were being trafficked by Hillary Clinton, right? But now you actually have the Department of Health and Human Services and ICE farming out 11,200 children to God only knows who, and 1,500 of them this year are missing, and last year 1,475 went missing. So we've got 3,000 children who have vanished, who could be in the hands of traffickers. They could be in the hands of people who simply said, oh yeah, I'm the long-lost uncle, and they take them and put them to work on fields or in farms or, you know, God only knows. 3,000 missing children? This administration is, you know, how this is not like the biggest scandal on the front page of the paper every day, I don't know. We'll be back with your calls in just a minute. It's coming up on 10 minutes before the hour, or 9.5 minutes before the hour, so stick around. We'll be right back. It's the Thom Hartmann Program, taking back the mainstream media 3 hours a day, 5 days a week. We'll be right back. Free Speech TV is supported by your contributions, and I strongly encourage you during the pledge drives, or even not during the pledge drives, to call Free Speech TV at 877-378-8669 and make a contribution, support Free Speech TV. But that said, our program, the Thom Hartmann Program, what you're watching right now, is sustained by commercial advertising, and we're on commercial stations around the country. We run ads. They pay us for that. And one of the ways that you can support our program is by going to thomhartmann.com, our website, and clicking on the advertisements on that page for our sponsors and buying their products, supporting their products, or letting them know that you care about their products and that you support our show. That's thomhartmann.com, and click on the advertising there to support our program. We really appreciate it. We really appreciate your supporting Free Speech TV by your ongoing, you know, calling and supporting the fundraising drives, and we also would really appreciate if you go to thomhartmann.com.
Want to connect with the show online? You can find the Thom Hartmann Program on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
You and Rob in Hampton, Virginia. Hey, Rob, what's on your mind today?
Hey, Tom, how you doing today?
Good. What's up?
I hate to come off harsh, but I'm kind of pissed off. How, you know, if a regular person get accused of a sexual crime or something like that, they got to go through the legal system, right? But how does a bunch of old-ass white men that's already set in their ways get to choose who telling the truth and who not telling the truth? You know what I'm saying?
I think
I apologize for coming off wrong, but it's no fucking 11th hour.
Oh, but Rob, we cannot use language like that. Rob, Louise, make a note of his phone number, please. We cannot, my apologies, I believe we dumped it. Okay, we successfully dumped it, but if that slipped out anywhere, my apologies. Louise, Rob is on line 6. You can talk to him. Mike in San Antonio, Texas. Hey, Mike, what's on your mind?
Hey, Tom, how you doing, sir?
I'm well. Please restrain yourself. What's up?
Oh, no harm to that here.
Okay.
I couldn't agree with you more about, Trump throwing the paper towels and stuff. That was not a good look for the country or for him, either one. But
no, and it shows how little he thinks of Puerto Ricans.
Yeah, that could be. I'm curious as to what didn't we do in Puerto Rico as far as, assistance that we could have given them.
We parked a hospital ship off their shore and then for weeks didn't let anybody aboard it. It never was at full occupancy. We handed most of the money for reconstruction off to a company out of Whitefish, Montana that had 2 employees and had never done this kind of work before. And they hired a bunch of subcontractors that they flew down at obscene amounts of money, pay, expenses for you and me. And those guys did the job so badly that the electricity that they got back up online, crashed again. And so they had to bring in a whole second set of contractors. It was just totally screwed up, Mike. And that's why several thousand people died.
Yeah, I've seen that, and I've read about that. How do you explain the recent charges about the mayor, the governor, or whoever that didn't distribute all the water and the supplies that we did send?
The water that still is sitting at the airport is not under the control of either the mayor or the governor. That water is under the control of FEMA, and you're right, it hasn't been distributed. So that's how I explain it. Mark in San Francisco, listening on 9:10 a.m. Hey, Mark, what's up?
Not much, Tom. I was looking at a statistic, and seniors over 65 are voting Republican by 3%. And it's really shocking because they want to cut Medicare and Social Security.
I know.
And what I see is it's about race.
I think you're right. And this is there was a story, this was like 5 or 6 years ago, and I talked about it on the air on this program, that a Republican strategist, I don't recall if it was Frank Luntz or another, said that the job of the Republican Party had to be to blacken the Democratic Party. And they were doing this a couple of ways. One, they were going along with and, in fact, encouraging racial gerrymandering, number one. And number two, trying to highlight all the black faces who are Democrats who are showing up on television, and whenever Fox News has somebody on, trying to find somebody who is like a twofer for Fox News is black and isn't particularly articulate. And that, this is just, the racial piece of this is just god awful. The Republican Party has been doing this since Willie Horton ads, it goes way back since Nixon started with this whole law and order thing, which was code for racial, attacking people based on race. So yeah, we've got to figure out a way to get past that whole issue for old white men in particular, and point out to them that the Republican Party is absolutely committed to destroying their Medicare and their Social Security.
Yeah, the Democrats need to scream that really loudly.
Yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree.
Got to get those people on our side, Tom.
Yep. I'm with you, and I'm pointing it out here. Mark, thanks for listening to AM 910, our iHeartRadio affiliate in San Francisco. I really appreciate it. We will be back tomorrow. In the meantime, hang on to your hat. Things sure are moving fast. And don't forget, democracy, as both President Obama used to say and as Bernie Sanders said for years on this program, democracy is not a spectator sport. It requires all of us. It was designed that way. It was that way in Greece. It was that way for a while in Rome. And it's been that way here for a long, long time. We only win when we show up, which means making sure that your voter registration is still intact, that the Republicans haven't stolen it. Get out there, get active, tag, you're it. We'll see you tomorrow.
You've been listening to Thom Hartmann. For audio and video archives, visit thomhartmann.com.
From UN